three. What comes before two? All right. Good
Three.
evening,
Yeah.
world. It's 9:30 on November 2nd, 2024 EST. It's me, your friend, Chris Kennard, aka your Princess of Port Richmond, aka Hamkavina, first of her name, long shall she reign. Joined as always. Am I doing it right? I am. I did it right the first time. I'm joined as always by my friend A Allure, aka Entel, aka Electric Headspace, aka the living abstraction himself. My friend, how are you today?
Hey, I am just really glad that to be here. I've been very much, you know, in the typical headspace of trying to get a lot done and as a lot done and sometimes sparing time. I'm glad that having this wonderful discussion will be one of those things. So hey, man, I'm absolutely excited that we were able to make it work today, man. And and I understand that I will kind of be the first of many people who you'll be kind of bringing on to talk about variations within the whole Apple Music thing. So I guess I got to set the stage, and I just hope that it gets done correctly. Well,
You're so humble. I can't stand you. For those who may not know what Aelor is talking about, I've been thinking about it, and I have so many people that I want to talk to about music, all the ins and outs, all the inner workings. And I figured an easy way to like just get people through the front door is if we talk about the Apple 100 list, because it's a great way for a person to just look back on their lives and pick like the records that mean the most to them. So it is with great honor that I am hoping to create Ken Me Day Orchard, as in 10 people, 10 albums apiece. We're going to replace the Apple 100 list with just like as a sampling of all the people that I trust in this world with their opinions. Alor is first, and I have at least two others in addition to myself. So I still need 6 volunteers, and I can't wait to find those few and interesting folks. If you'd like to be one of them, leave a comment. Would love to have your thoughts and would love to have you on the show. Speaking of that, and you send a tweet, let people know that we are live. So now that it's Twitter official, let me tell y'all what we're getting into today. So last time Aelor and I were here, we took a list at the Apple 100 list. You cited every single one and subtracted 20 of the albums. The albums that we subtracted included Travis Scott, Kraftwerk, Arctic Monkeys, Erykah Badu, Guns N' Roses, Drake, Kanye West, Radiohead, Beyonce, Nas, Stevie Wonder, Taylor Swift, Dr. Dre, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Prince, Led Zeppelin, Rihanna, the Notorious B.I.G., and Tupac. Today, we're going to go through all 100 albums that Aelor selected if he got to choose every single album, and he's going to pick 10 of those albums and add them back into the Apple 100. And so there'll be 90 on the board and 20 taken off. And soon when I have two of my next guests, we'll have 40 taken off. And then 90 again. I'm going to go last, I think. And you'll be there and you'll be there with me when I go last, Aelor. I think that's what I decided to do because the last shall be first and the first shall be last, if I can preach for a second or two. So
bookended.
Yeah, exactly. So let's not waste any time. It's been a long day and it's going to be a long week for us here in North America. I have before me
yeah, that's it. That's an understatement.
By the way, there's a link. Like if you somehow find yourself here before the 5th of November, like there's a link. If you're like, how do I vote? And you're registered, there's a link in the description to tell you more. Please participate if you feel so inclined. No pressure. Literally, like, what am I going to do to you? Shake my finger at you? Like, if you'd like to participate, by all means. And if you don't know how, we're here to help. So
Hmm.
In the meantime, all 100 of Mide's apples in no particular order because we didn't have that much time. We have Bruceology by the Waitresses, the White
Hmm.
Album by the Beatles, This Year's Model by Elvis Costello and the Attractions, Marquee Moon by Television, Otis Blue by Otis Redding, Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music Volumes 1 and 2 by Ray Charles. We have Freak on Ica by Girls Against Boys, The Ecstatic by Mos Def, Midnight Marauders by A Tribe Called Quest, and to stop at number 10, Kamal the Abstract by Q Tip. Any thoughts as we traverse the galaxies? I figure we'll go 10 at a time. You can just like drop your little nuggets of why you arrived at that the point why you chose the albums that you did. I think I'll help you by asking you why. And I think a
Yeah.
great place
Yeah.
to start as far as I'm concerned is you know what? Here, I'm thinking what would like make the most sense, I guess, to start. Let's start with Ray Charles. Why did you pick this
Oh.
specific like compilation by Ray Charles? What's the
Oh.
story on that? That's my personal question.
Thank you for asking. That's probably like, I mean, obviously, all the, these 10 albums you listed are albums that, I would lovingly speak on. But that is an album, man, that it's like, truly was kind of special. I would say special to me at an interesting time. But Ray Charles, man, he is. I mean, the legendary prestige of Ray Charles. Like, you don't need me to tell you how amazing Ray Charles is, and kind of, and this is something I was saying about like the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, the Prince, where it's like when you're an artist that just made so many consistently great records, it very much does become very subjective what you prefer. And Modern Sounds, an album that I was lucky to kind of get into. Thank you know thankful to your local libraries back when they actually used to have music CDs for you to borrow.
Some still do, just not all of them. They all should, but most don't.
Yeah. I mean, geez, I mean, thanks. I mean, look, I'm not gonna diss. I'm not gonna diss music streaming. I'm not gonna diss Spotify or Apple. I mean, I do think that they are necessary things for modern music consumption. But oh man, the I had when I went back to my old local library and saw so much that was still there, and but tragically the things that were no longer there, such as that CD section, which I owe for introducing me to Ray Charles. Truly, in my opinion, what I consider one of Ray Charles' many definitively brilliant records, Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music, which is exactly true to its name, where Ray Charles decided to go into a territory that no one would have I don't know if mainstream society would have really expected for a quote unquote R&B, soul, jazz artist,
Rock and
whatever
roll,
you
that is.
want. Yeah, whatever you want to label Mr. Charles as, going into the world of country music. And not only going into that, but with his reinterpretations of so many of these songs. I'll say so many of these covers kind of outdo the original. I mean, not not me
Not
dissing,
surprised at
not me
all.
dis- and they definitely speak to the amazing talent that Ray Charles had, and just truly how he understood what resonated about these songs. I was able to take them into a new level. So some of these songs that would end up kind of becoming his interpretations becoming their own standards themselves. Geez, I'm not going to mention how I forgot to. This is probably one of the few occasions where, in spite of me having a whole bunch of DVDs that I am looking at right now, I forgot to bring you one DVD, a film that I know you are familiar with.
Oh, really?
A Yes. How do you feel about a certain anime film that goes by the name of Metropolis?
That movie traumatized me as a child, but I know exactly what you mean when you're saying it because at
Hmm.
like the emotional like height of the film, I remember hearing a specific song that says, "I can't stop loving you." And that song is a permanent fixture in my mind because as the emotional like peak of the film is taking place, like his voice is keeping me tethered to the earth because in reality I feel like I'm going to scream at what I'm seeing because I saw that film far too young. But oh my God, looking back upon it, absolute masterpiece. For any sci fi nerds out there, for any anime enthusiast, you gotta watch this film and you gotta watch the dub because that's how I saw it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm lucky to own that film both in its original DVD pressing and in its the blue in a recent okay, recent is kind of stretching it. It's like I think it came out in like 2019, 2018. uh but I won't go I won't trail too off talking about Metropolis, but I will say this, I talked to a certain fellow by the name of Mastermind. Uh, we have discussed whether or not we might make a retraced video on
You should.
Metropolis.
I
We have,
insist. I'll
yeah,
finance it myself. Please do that. The
yeah,
streets
we
need
haven't,
that shit. The culture needs it.
yeah, yeah, we haven't confirmed it yet, but it's something. It's one of those many white whales that the Mastermind is considering. But not to trail off with that. But yeah, but that it does speak to the quality of that album because that album is full of songs of like where he is just bringing these songs that already are captivating and emotional and heartaching, and it's just chock full of them. Okay, there's I can't stop loving you, and then there's I love you so much it hurt. I love you so much it hurts. And it's like every time I have listened to that and few songs truly capture the just aching vulnerability of like admitting of like be trying to be honest with yourself about your feelings for someone the way that song has. There's the second track, you don't know me, which was in another film that is quite beloved, Groundhog's Day, um which I have not seen in years, but
I haven't
it's
seen it
like,
at all.
yeah, but okay, but Groundhog's Day, Bill Murray, he goes to this small town for for the holiday, and he just keeps waking up in the same day, and it goes from being something that he's like weirded out by to something, but whatever. I'm not going to get too deep in it, but there is a scene, there's a montage of sorts where he and the love interest are kind of in each day they're kind of he kind of uses the repeated day to kind of like try to kind of like romantically woo her, and the song plays as there is this montage because the day keeps going on and on and on and on, and he keeps trying, and there are certain times where it looks like things are going to work out between them, and then there are times where the reality of the fact that this relationship that he wants with this person can't really progress because he keeps waking up in the same day. And as that song is playing, just the heartache the heartache he is feeling within within that repeated sequence of time, because he stays in the same day, for a long time. Like there are theories that he was possibly reliving Groundhog's Day for like a year plus, like that's having that song in that montage, it's like really, it once again, not only captures that kind of incredibly heart aching scene within the film, but once again just shows that the power that Ray Charles had, that the fact that he could, like, I've tried to listen to a few of the originals on the album, and they're fine. They're fine. They're really solid country western tunes of that era. But there's just and maybe it's the lushness of the production, because Mr. Charles, talented musician that he was doing his own production on a lot of his work. Maybe it's the lushness of the productions, maybe it's in how incredibly in sync the background singers are, but but in that Ray Charles way, he was able to take these country western tunes and transition them into a whole different level of standard that I would argue they're still kind of being judged on. We were talking a decent deal about Beyonce and Cowboy Carter, and I will admit my kind of controversial disregard for that album, purely for of course, not dissing the Queen, but it's just in light of certain associations, I just didn't really feel like getting into it. But one thing that I could tell from Cowboy Carter, even before it came out, was like, oh, she's definitely gonna try to, in her own weird attempt, kind of make her own version of Ray Charles' modern sounds in country western music. Um and that was a comparison that I kept hearing get popped up when that album came out. And hey, I mean, if you're gonna take from someone, take from the best, man. So yeah, hey, absolutely try and take from Ray Charles, man. And I mean, one thing I will say, about kind of like where country music is now, that I guess I don't know how much of my 2 cents I should be putting in on that, is one thing about country music, it has way more in common with R&B than it's really, in my opinion, given credit for. And I think a positive thing that comes from a Cowboy Carter or a Shabuzi, with that tipsy cover, which, man, y'all really love that tipsy cover. Or some, I don't know who this dude's name is, but he was like covering Usher's "Let It Burn," but making it country, and I'm like, I don't know who that dude is, but hey, shout out for showing love to Usher. But country music and R&B, they have way more in common than they ever really get credit for. Like, as
It was Shabuzi.
yeah. Oh, wait. Did Shabuzi also did the Burn one? Did the
It
Burn
was either
cover?
him, if it wasn't him, it was this white dude named Austin Burke.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Heck, they might have both done covers, because hey,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, like, I was like, country music has way more in common with R&B than it's given credit for. And I truly do hope that in the future we can see more respectfully, with respect for the backgrounds of both genres, that we can see more country and R&B artists really kind of like being able to make that magic happen. Because above so many other things, Ray Charles showed that it could be done 60 years ago, man, 60 plus years ago, man. So I mean, and in a standard that I feel like we're still trying to kind of catch up with, in my honest opinion. So, so yeah. So to the folks who are digging the Shibuzi, Cowboy Carter, um, that dude, who did Burn, or I don't know,
Austenberg, I
or
don't know. By the looks
yeah,
of him, it just looks another dude, bro, wearing his daddy's jacket.
yeah, man. You see, you gotta, man. It is so
Bear in mind,
Yeah,
I'm talking shit. I'm talking shit. I don't know dude
yeah,
from a can of worms. So he'd probably be the next Willie Nelson for all I know. It's just that
eh,
unfortunately for the outsider looking in, country has become a bit of a pageantry. For cats really like, I don't know, like for every Florida Georgia line, there's an Orville Peck. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I feel you.
Who are we to I'll say this though, it's like you say R&B and country have a lot in common because black people invented both of them. That's why. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
I'm very much
yeah.
like, here's the thing, like white people in the South feel very like attached and like they basically like this shit is ours, and it's like technically you're renting it, and like your rent is long overdue. Not to be the landlord of freaking country music, but like I can clearly tell like a person who like is like we can like there's a reason why uh who's the guy to Tennessee whiskey, or the cover of
Tennessee
rather
whiskey.
the cover of Tennessee whiskey.
I'll Google it right now.
No, it's okay, I got it.
Okay.
It's that guy, yeah, Chris Stapleton. There's a reason why his career kind of like blew up after like folks heard him saying, because it's like, oh, like this is the shit we're waiting for. This is the sound we've been looking for the whole time. Like there is a certain look to white folks who do country versus just like the clean cut guy with just that Hollywood smile who's never like shoveled
Yeah,
like a pile of pig dung a day in his life. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's kind of like
I
punk in that
mean,
way,
yeah,
but it just like there just happens to be like a giant ass like money machine pumping out of Tennessee in the meantime. But like I don't know,
yeah.
as long as like, but like again, like the only reason why we really bang with Willie Nelson is because like even after all this time, people still respect the work that he's done. He respects the
Mhm.
industry, and like in spite of all the weed he smoked, he's not on like the top 100 list, and maybe he ought to be. Before we go any
Yeah.
further, I just want to state for the record, if I hope you've picked out your 10 prior to the stream. Otherwise, we'll be here for another 2 hours like we did last time. So if you happen upon
Okay.
if you happen upon the 10 on your list while I'm listing off your entire like compilation, stop me so we can like discuss why you've chosen it. Because I figure if I
Okay.
keep on like randomly picking one out of the 10, we'll be here for longer than we like we anticipated. So
Okay.
yes, you have your 10
Well,
you have your 10 set aside.
I well, I have a really good
So no.
I would dissertate prepared. I've certain things prepared for whatever you end up picking. Hey,
So
and
no.
hello, Mrs. Wall. Yeah, just pick what you can. That's on me. And hello, Mrs. Wallenstein. Apple. Oh
All
yes,
right.
yes. The Apple Music 100 best list. Mrs. Wallenstein. That's what we're referring to. And
Please refer to our last stream
potential.
for any context
Yeah.
and check the
Yes.
description as well.
Yes, a potential replacement for those Apple Music. So we had just got on from talking about how Ray Charles, Modern Sounds in Country Western Music, Volume 1 and 2 would be a wonderful addition to that list.
Let's move on, shall we? Uh-oh, I lost you. Hey, Lord, your mic disconnected. Uh, it wouldn't be a Chris Kennard stream without any technical difficulties, huh? Can you hear me, Aylor? Yeah, all right. He can hear me, but I can't hear him. Do me a flavor, Aylor, if you can hear me. Yeah, hop out, hop back in if you can. It's fine. You're making that face. You're making that face. It's cool. Just reset your browser. I'll keep them distracted in the meantime. And also do refer to the private chat when you're back up. Let me see. Yep, I got my phone right next to me. So shoot me a text, reset your browser, come right back. Oh wait, you're already back. I can hear you.
Yeah. So
It's
uh,
fine. These things happen.
okay.
We're getting it out the
But
mud.
yeah,
Don't even worry about it.
okay.
Shall we
But
keep going?
yeah. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going.
It's okay. These
Um,
things happen. Trust me. It's not my first time at this rodeo. LOL. Okay. Going forward from number 11, which is Introducing by DJ Shadow. Number 12, Wildflower by the Avalanches. 13, OK Computer by Radiohead. Scandal Acknowledged. 14, Superfly, Curtis Mayfield. Scandal Acknowledged. In Utero, Nirvana. Beauty and the Beat by Edon. Road to Rowan by Supergrass. Donuts by Jay Dilla, rest in peace. A Charlie Brown Christmas by the Vince Guardi Trio.
mhm.
And number 20, Something Else by the Kinks. Anything of note, or should we keep going just for the sake of time?
Okay. All right. So I made a really big deal about not being interested in Astroworld by Travis. So
Yep.
if yeah, so if you but hey, look, I get what the vibes were like.
Stop
Oh,
trying to justify your answer. We discussed it last
oh,
stream. Get to the point.
all right. All right. But look, if you want, and this is also why I'm really glad that like Kid See Ghost isn't on this list because I was so tired of acting as if that album was good. As yeah, which
Scandal acknowledged, Kid Cudi.
yeah, but yeah, but if you guys okay, I get it. You guys want the trippy, vibey hip hop. I get it. I get it.
The
I love the
Pretentious is
trippy.
coming out tonight.
I love the trippy, vibey hip hop too. I was on that. And you want to know an album that is actually a really, really great example of that? It's Edon's Beauty and the Beat. His sophomore album following Primitive Plus, which I've always been, even in high school, I was always incredibly captivated by this album, man. A love letter not only to the 60s psychedelia, but to a lot of 80s old school hip hop. In a way, in its weird way, Beauty and the Beat, in trying to reconcile his love for these for this 2 hours of music, he not only shows a wonderful massive reverence, often like kind of alluding to old school hip hop acts beautifully on tracks like Stumbling Over Words That Rhyme. You also get rock and roll. You also get a track like rock and roll, which just really beautiful sonic clash of psychedelia, while in like every verse he is finding some way to reference a classic 60s and 70s act. He also kind of disses Lenny Kravitz over his overt fondness for Jimi Hendrix, which, to be honest, like, look, who doesn't diss Lenny Kravitz over that? I mean, hey, like, it's not even disrespect, Mr. It's not even disrespect like that, Mr. Kravitz. It's just, like
It's an unfortunate
they've always been
reality.
yeah, and but what really is so fascinating is like not just in kind of like taking those influences, playing up on them very fondly, very reverently, but also like just really trying to use that influence to elevate himself, elevate his own kind of artistic view. And it comes up, and there's so many tracks that really play up on it, some that admittedly go into a bit of a darker place. I know Smile, man, Smile, wow, Smile would be such a dark song to end this album with, if thankfully Promised Land was not the actual final track. But okay, but yes, but to my folks who are like, yo man, like, I love that Travis Scott, I love that, I love it when I love that Kids Ego stuff. It's so vibey. They're spitting, but it's so vibey. Yeah, it's been done. It's been done. It's been done before. It's been done way, way better. And I think Idan's Beauty and the Beat is a wonderful example of that, kind of of that kind of I would say that kind of progression. So seriously, go check it. Seriously, go check it out. I mean, I would say one of the best albums of the 2000s, in my opinion.
All right, but here's the real question: is it going in your list of like? Is it going in your 10, or you just want to make sure you gave it its flowers?
Dude,
you don't have to say yes.
Yeah.
By the way.
Dude, yes. Well, would I pick it over?
Remember, you have 10. You have 10 freaking slots. Let's keep going for now. We can always work our way back to it. We just want to make sure we're admiring some of the sites, and we want to make sure we're just admiring some of the sites. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I mean, I guess I could have picked Donuts, but it's like, but I guess we're still kind of like, I guess we're still kind of like, I mean, and it's not even anything reflecting bad on Dilla, but it's just, Stone Throw Records have been kind of like pulling some BS lately, and which I don't need to. Which
I will be glad to say. I will be glad to mention it. Wow, almost sneezed. The fact of the matter is, Stone Throw is trying to make money off of Doom's name by re-releasing some stuff that didn't come up via Madlib or anybody involved that made their music together. And I think it's kind of fucked unless like Doom's children is going to see that money directly. So Peanut Butter Wolf, we're on your ass, and feel free to like get in our comments and tweet out some clarification, because according to based on the tweet that I put out, the streets are saying this is whack as fuck. So and put some respect the legends, especially and like a big fuck you to like the government of the United States, because when MF Doom wanted to come home for the healthcare that he needed, you did not allow it, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Long live the villain.
And I'm just gonna put it out there. Look, Madlib had to kind of privately separate from Stone Throw, a record label that I would say, like, if you loved Stone Throw Records in the 2000s, there's a good deal to believe that like Madlib was one of the reasons. And and it's just one of those things. I respect Madlib incredibly musically, and I respect him so much that I believe that he should have a good more control of how his work is being utilized. And if like Madlib, a person who in my opinion was one of the people who, yes, Peanut Butter Wolf founded Stone Throw, and shout out to the Charisma and Peanut Butter Wolf days, R.I.P. Charisma. But like, look, come on, you can't deny Madlib's place in making that.
Pay what you owe, in the words of Riley Freeman.
But once again, another rant that I don't want to get too deep into, but I guess just to be petty to Stone Throw and what they're trying to pull, it's going to be for now. It's going to be Beauty and the Beat over Donuts. Just so Stone Throw can.
So you're for sure putting that in your 10, or you're just like heavily considering it? Yay or nay?
It's highly considered, but it's okay, likely what I'll do. I mean, I
also
and I would have, and I would have given a shout out to and look, and yes, look, and yes, I also adore the Vince Guaraldi Trio's Charlie Brown Christmas soundtrack, but like, guys, it's November. I don't do that. I don't do that talking about Christmas and November stuff.
You can.
Come back to me.
Linda Belcher can do it, so can you.
Which I mean, look, I've mentioned, look, well, the mastermind has already mentioned his appreciation for Vince Guaraldi in a different video. Shout out
I'll
to
be sure to link that in the description after this
yeah,
stream. I got you.
Shout out to my man, Cody for that one. But yeah, another one for Apple. But look, man, we'll talk. Well, it's November 2nd.
We'll come back
We'll
to
talk
it.
about the we'll talk about the Christmas stuff in December, man. Let's go on.
Pass the cranberry sauce, Robert mashed potatoes. All right, so albums 21. Oh, speaking of one more thing about Edon. Speaking of December, we'll be in LA with Cut Chemist and at the Lodge Room. What's this shit fucking say? Yeah, at the Lodge Room, Highland Park, 8 p.m. Tickets available. Not dropping a link because we're not getting paid for that. But if you hear the album, think, damn, that's pretty cool. You can like go see him play live if you can happen to be on the West Coast. Shout out to LA. So albums 21 through 30. We have Keep Your Eyes Ahead by the Helio Sequence. Slovaki by Slow Dive. Mad Villainy by Mad Villain. 6 Feet Beneath the Moon by King Cruel. Shout out Archie Marshall. Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, our second pairing from the Apple 100. Chairs Missing by Wire. Tim by The Replacements. Merryweather Post Pavilion by Animal Collective. We got Darkness on the Edge of Town by Bruce Springsteen. And I believe number 30 is Fear of a Black Planet by Public Enemy. Just a real quick side swipe. I had no idea because if you recall, way back when, Lord, who's on the Apple 100 list, had an EP that came out prior to Pure Heroin, and I cannot remember the name of it. I'm trying to Google it as I'm talking, but and it had one song on there that I really like called I think it was called the Love Club EP. I think it came out prior to the Pure Heroin. It had a song in there called Biting Down, which I really like, but also I think at least on SoundCloud, a cover of Swingin' Party. And I had no idea it was a cover of The Replacements. Yeah, it was on like her live in concert EP. Again, also in 2013. It had 3 songs from Pure Heroin and that cover of The Replacements. So like we already know the kind of audience that this lady was fostering, because I can't think of how many people, because like I somehow presume that like Lord was the same age as like Billie Eilish when she put out her first album. So I can't think of many people, at least in maybe a few friends, because we weren't friends in high school, you and I can't think of anyone who like really listens to The Replacement in my immediate circle. So shout out to The Replacements. I can't hear the name of that band without thinking of like the Disney cartoon that like was in no way associated to it.
Yeah.
Any albums you want to kind of like show some love to before we move forward?
I mean, geez. Like, look, these are all artists, and I guess, okay, The Replacements. That is a band. That's a band that Chris has definitely heard me kind of speak fondly on,
I have,
and I'd say the Replacements. Because I guess they're what I will say about them is, much like, once again, what I kind of said about various classic artists who had consistently great stuff, consistently great albums, and The Replacements were in that. And shout out to 62 Alvarez. Pleasure to have you. The Replacements were one of those bands. Probably one of those quintessential.
I love you, Eddie.
One of those quintessential like Okay, they never got big. They never really got big, but the critics at the time absolutely adored them. Their fans absolutely adored them. But their legend of being a tad bit destructive and a tad bit ambivalent, like wanting to be famous, but also kind of being weirdly ambivalent towards it, was well understood even in the 80s. Was well understood even in the 80s. So and hey, the replacements, like, yes, I adore Tim. I also adore Pleased to Meet Me. Shout out to Hootenanny. I have a way more complimentary view on their Don't Tell a Soul album than even Paul Westerberg himself seems to. But
Then why
I
didn't you
also,
put that there?
because I understand that, like, an album that truly showed their fire on all cylinders power was Tim. And yes,
Okay.
and yes, I am aware of the recent rework of Tim that came out, the Let It Bleed edition, which, like, I guess kind of shows the more rougher sound that the band wanted to go for on that album. But producer, I believe Tom Ramone, and that Ramone is exactly the kind of Ramone you're thinking of.
Yikes.
Was like D Ramones and everything, and but he really kind of, it's between kind of, obviously, because Sire Records, their record label, they really wanted this band to kind of blow up, and they never really did. And Tim, their first, like, I would say, major label album, it showed so much of what they had already been able to cultivate during their more indie years on Twin Tone. If anything, I would say, I know their previous album, Let It Be, was kind of, is considered a real high point. If I was to be honest, I always felt that, and granted, it helps that I listened to Tim before I listened to Let It Be. I always felt Tim did everything Let It Be did, but way better. It's way better. From the second the first track plays, "Hold My Life," a song that I continue to be surprised that John Hughes never put in any of his movies, because that song was so ready made to be like in a John Hughes movie. Um and
Hey,
Yeah,
Grayson.
yeah. Hey,
No, but like, I want to cut you off. You
yeah.
saying John Hughes should have used it for a movie. Since he never did, that means you have to.
Yeah, I'll find a way to make it work. I'll find a way to make it work. And
There you have
oh,
it.
and okay, and but okay, but once again, there's just so many tracks that deliver. Okay, there's Hold My Life. There's Kiss Me on the Bus, which sounds absolutely different on the Let It Bleed edition. But if you hear how it sounded in 1985, you get the more poppy quality. You get a more poppy quality that Paul, for all of his kind of sneering towards the idea of being mainstream, he always showed that he had way more of a pop presence than even he could give himself credit for. I mean, but okay, but then there are just songs that are wonderful crystallizations of their time, like Left of the Die, which is one part love song, and one part him kind of acknowledging his place as a kind of college rock superstar, because you wanted to know where you could hear the replacements, because the radios weren't playing them unless they were college radio stations that you could only access from the left of the dial, which, and this is my hands. Sorry, guys. I kind of messed
It's
up with that
fine.
one, but
You know,
but okay.
before you go any
Yeah,
further, I just want
yeah.
to like state for the record because I'm sure someone's going to say it in the comments. The problem with the replacements is that, you know, like as prominent as they were in like the underground world of like indie and alt rock, no one like they aren't household, and it kind of makes it hard to like justify. But like this is again your list, and it's funny you mentioned Left of the Dial because I only know that song because of a podcast I used to listen to that named their show that. And honestly, still to this day, I haven't heard that one of replacement song. Like if we weren't friends, I never would have listened to them because again, they're just a band that has a lot of this prestige. And since they're not really around, it's like, well, by the time I get around to them, people just make fun of me for getting into them late. So I've never really bothered. So hopefully when folks hear you talk so passionately about this record, they will give it a chance. Should we move on?
Last thing I'll say is,
Go
okay,
ahead.
to those who still do not understand or why the replacements are so cool, pretty much any pop punk alt rock band you love and adore, they all in some way ripped off the replacements, you know. And I say that complimentary, you know, like seriously, like I'm sure someone listening in right now is like really into Green Day. Yeah, Green Day would not have a career without the replacements, you know. So that is how deep, like, they never got big, but every pop punk alternative rock band that did in some way ripped off the replacements. And I say that complimentary, you know.
I disagree only a little bit. And it's only in the sense that like I am like not that I'm an expert or anything of that in that particular regard, but like I find that at least from my realm, for like the realm of like the scene kids and shit like that, I feel like more of those bands were like explicitly like Nirvana's children, and like more hipster acts are like who's just like, you know, like plagiarizing the replacements as far as my lens is concerned.
Okay,
You know,
you know,
because like
I get
I
that. I
don't
get
like
that.
because I not to be contrarian. I don't think I imagine a lot of new metal bands had their replacements on, and like if they did, great. Because then I imagine they probably maybe. I feel like if more new school bands were like explicitly like, "Yo, we fuck with their replacements," maybe they could have like had a better resurgence. But that's neither here nor there. That's just that's my view from the bench, if anything. Onwards and
Okay.
upwards. We have 31 through 40, including Loveless by My Bloody Valentine, Steve McQueen by Prefab Sprout, Forever Changes by Love, The Velvet Underground, self-titled, the third like cross-reference we're seeing on that list in the Apple list,
Yeah.
Radio City by Big Star, Kick Out the Jams, motherfucker, by MC5, Stakes is High by De La Soul, Completely Well by BB King, The Doors, self-titled, and A Weekend in the City by Block Party. Man, this is a nice little batch we have here. Pick one. What's like the sight to behold as we're crossing through this valley?
Okay. And you know, I got to give a shout out to MC5, who I had mentioned. I don't know when I mentioned them. I don't know when
It
I
was during
mentioned
our
them
coverage
previously.
of 2016 because one of their members
Yeah,
finally got into the Rock Hall.
yeah. They finally got into the hall, which, but amazingly, back when every original member was sadly no longer with us to actually be there. But Tom Morello, who will be the first one to truly say how much Rage Against the Machine truly are like the children of MC5, was able to do that. So, you know, thank you, Mr. Morello. Thank you, Mr. Morello, for doing that. So, I
Shout out to
mean,
Tom's
and kick
mom.
out, you know, oh yeah. Like, you know, wow, like 101 still kicking. Yo, shout
Amen.
out to the
Goals.
lady. Shout out to the lady, yo.
Goals.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, we're giving Jimmy Carter love over being in 100, but like, yeah, but like she already beat him by a
101.
year. Like, yo,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Shout out Tom's
But yeah,
mom.
shout out to MC5. Kick out the jams. truly wonderful album. And like, and seriously, they made three amazing albums, all words, all kind of distinct, but all wonderful in their own ways. Seriously, punk rock would not exist.
I agree. For what it's worth, we have got to get you some of them wired in cans, my boy. Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you, bud. It's okay. Reset your reset your tab. Come on back. I understand. People, the time is 10:20. November 2nd. 50 minutes on the clock. Hopefully, ALR will reset in just a moment of time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. But yeah, okay. And so I'm glad I got to give him that shout out, even though, okay, but we want to keep it modern, but we want to also kind of keep things modern, and because
we don't have to. We don't have to do that for the record. This is your show.
Okay, but I guess like in terms of like, hey, by all means, I do listen to music from the 21st century. I do listen to music from the 21st century. And I guess one album, okay, and while this band is deservedly well beloved even.
Yeah,
whatever,
I see it.
But okay.
And Hammer.
Yeah. So what was that about? Okay, but
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, a band that while was beloved even at their time, not at their time, they're still kicking, but a band that was very special to me even then, and I still have a lot of fun. And even though like I would argue I'm in a bit of a different place in my life, but a band that was very special to me at that time, and I'm would love to highlight what I always considered, in my opinion, truly their best work, Block Party: A Weekend in the City, which
I'm fucking hoping you'd say that.
Yes. Their 2007 sophomore album, which that I had always said that yes. I mean, okay, all right. I kind of like Silent Alarm. I listened to Silent Alarm. I thought Silent Alarm was wonderful. Like like every very hip teenager of that time did. But there was just something about Weekend in the City that came so, I don't know, just came really at a perfect time that a part of me doesn't even really feel that people understood how perfect of a time an album like that could come across. I mean, Calais, who was able to kind of keep pushing forward lyrically in terms of Kelly, who could, in my opinion, could have very much just kind of rested on the fame and hype of Silent Alarm, and kind of just made Silent Alarm 2, decided to make an album that spoke to his experience as a Nigerian immigrant living in the UK, and his racial, and having to confront his racial identity, and how the world was seeing people like him. Also kind of confronting his own feelings as at the time closeted gay man. And really kind of really delving into that in a way that brilliantly spoke of its time, and in a way it's still kind of ahead of its time. A certain person who I don't know if that's, a certain person once wrote that hunting for witches, if you listen to those lyrics, listen to those lyrics, and basically a song that's basically about understanding.
Insert marginalized group here.
exactly. And a certain person once wrote about how the lyrics read like reading the comments section of foxnews.com.
Who said that?
And the person was me.
Where did you say that?
Uh, back when I was trying to be a writer, I wrote an article about my appreciation for that album, which
Back when? Oh, you're still a
years,
writer.
yeah, years ago. In fact, 10 years ago. 10 years ago. It's actually the 10-year
Is that still
anniversary of
available?
that
Did you like put it out publicly or did you write it privately?
It was on an online magazine that I kind of lost contact with, but a really cool online magazine. I think they're still around. Yeah, I'll send you a link later.
If you
I'll
find
send
it, I
you a
want to
link
put it in the
later.
comments when this stream is over. I want you to send. If you find it, send it to me so we put it in the comments because that's fucking awesome.
Uh,
That you
yeah,
wrote, a Nigerian person, wrote about Block Party. Because again, I'm tired of like coverage of like black fronted bands from like white like correspondents. We as a people need to talk about our own fucking acts, and that never happens. And like we've spoke candidly about Block Party in the past, and I've said
mhm.
something about this band that I regret, that like I held like the original lineup splitting at the feet of Kele, and I have no context for that, and it's so rude. And I apologize if you ever hears me, if you ever heard me say it, and if you ever heard me say it, and even if you hadn't heard me say it, I apologize because that's not my business. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm just a fan. Like, those are your actual friends and coworkers, and so yeah, I apologize for like making such a broad, sweeping like generalization. You know what I'm saying? However,
Yeah,
again, like I'm saying all that to say, it must be such a pain to be like the one like black person in a sea of like not black people, and then folks have such like a high expectation for you in regards to like representing them when all you're really supposed to do is represent yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like I just want people to see this man and all the work he's done, all the blood, sweat, and tears he's poured into Block Party. I want him to like see that like he made a difference, and I know that he knows that, but I want him to specifically know here in the States, it means so much to me to see like a proper black rock star. And I don't want proper to be like taken out of context, just in the like literally the context of black men in a band writing generational tunes. Like the first 7 songs on this album, absolute ass kicker. Holy shit. Also,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
quick
and
aside with the aside,
yeah. Shout out to B.
subtlesmile.com,
Yeah, yeah,
subtlesmile.com, the best place in the DMV for fashion, music, and art.
yeah. And there are a bunch of songs that I think that a lot of people will still find themselves being able to connect with. I still remember is a very, very, oh boy, did that song come out at the perfect time. And a song that, that I was still very much chalked to, still has a very special place in my life right now. And, and look, and I mean, Block Party, in my opinion, has nothing to prove to me. Like, if Block Party wants to go Rolling Stones with it, keep doing this thing 30, 40 years later,
Please
do
do.
that. Do that. I will admit that like Block Party for me will always be those first 4 albums, but even post that, I've been very thankful that this is a band that has continued to that's been able to keep pushing on. And hey, seriously, do what you got to do. And yeah, and Weekend in the City, produced by Jack Knife Lee, who probably is best known for was best known for producing U2's How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, an album
Makes
that
sense.
And
Scandal
and
acknowledged, because we're not listening to YouTube either these days.
yeah, I like that. I just put that for clarification because
Of course, of course, yeah.
because I was there in the 2000s and I know y'all were rocking with that
I know I
album
was for sure.
but truly made a wonderful album that I think was absolutely what the indie world needed at that time. Indie world needed at that time, and I think still stands beautifully. Yes, I get why people prefer Silent Alarm. I get why Silent Alarm is seen as their magnum opus. I'm not like this is like so, yeah. Silent Alarm really is that wonderful. But A Weekend in the City will is an album that really
It's for the
showed
real
that
eaters.
and I think it's still overdue for a lot more credit and hopefully it does, and I'm cool with
It's up
that.
to
Yeah, man.
us. It's up to us. And because it's up to
Indeed.
us, I have a question for you. As you already know, Silent Alarm is on the Apple Music Best 100 list. Would you be so bold to replace it with Weekend in the City? Because if you do, here's what's going to happen. We have to put someone back onto the list that we've taken off.
Jeez, man, it's like Uh, okay, and like pretty much, and honestly, like looking back on that list, there's probably even more people I would have taken out. Sorry NWA, but like
Agreed. I was listening back to our
sorry
stream, and I
NWA, but
agree.
like
I definitely, we definitely could have made a case for like NWA and for Bob Marley, but like I'll let somebody else tell that story before I do.
yeah. I'm like, so it, so like, I mean, I'm cool with Silent Alarm kind of staying there right now because,
Okay.
in my opinion, there's a lot more I could have gotten around to taking it back, but yes,
We still have
but
like
yeah,
60 albums to go. So
uh-huh.
so let's keep it moving then.
And
41 through 50. Yes, I'm gonna say I heard you say and.
and I said, let's keep going.
Okay.
In fact, I know exactly who I want to talk about next because,
Okay.
but
I think I have an
right,
idea of what you're gonna say.
mhm.
So 41 through 50 includes Dear Science by TV on the Radio, Atlantis, Hymns for Disco by Chaos. We also have Lady Hawk, self-titled. We have Electroshock Blues by Eels, Crazy for You by Best Coast, Thundering Herd by Woody Herman, Super Unknown by Soundgarden, Pussycats by Harry Nilsson, Giant Steps by John Coltrane, and The Heart of Saturday Night by Tom Waits. We have reached the halfway point. Hey, Lore, what should we be looking out for with our eyes and ears?
Okay, and I just realized that I actually, well, okay, not the one I plan on talking about, but one that was mentioned. I actually like have it in the room right now. So, shout out to Harry Nielsen's Pussycats, which yes,
Yeah.
which yes, actually was produced by John Lennon, but
Scandal
probably
acknowledged.
yes. During their fabled Lost Weekend era, which anyone who wants to read up on that, and really, I would say, really like what Harry Nielsen probably like their other albums Harry Nielsen made that are kind of considered his best, but few as truly weirdly fascinating as Pussycats. But look, there are way more Nielsen folks who can like really get on that. I think after talking about Block Party for so long, it only makes sense to talk about the other indie band that I was very openly writing for. In fact, I have kind of like playfully commented on how like and shout out to Mrs. Wallenstein who I'm just who who I don't if you're listening right now, like I once playfully commented that what the Jonas Brothers were for her in terms of acts that they were really into at that point in their life, and was very much what TV on the radio was for me. And I can't think of an album that just fully solidified it to teenage me that, like, yeah, this is the band, man. This is the band that you are going to like annoy all of your classmates in terms of talking about, like TV on the radio's Dear Science, which sadly this list doesn't really exist anymore. I think it was like the Village Voice, Paz, and Jop best of 2008 list, which they made, and I do. But in talking about TV on the radio, truly one of the, like, once again, one of the great indie bands of that era. Truly, I'd say, like, in terms of like New York acts that were really like that really like made it clear that New York still had something to say in terms of music acts. It was them, and it was Yeah Yeah Yes. Uh, and at this time, TV on the radio, they already had the hype on their side. Return to Cookie Mountain, beautiful album. You probably, if you're around our age, you probably already heard Wolf Like Me at some point in your life. And it really was an album that just so perfectly captured its time. That was like, could TV on the radio do it again? And they said, yeah. And they said, yeah. And Dear Science, man, and Dear Science just fully just blew it out of the gates. I mean, I remember seeing the music video for Golden Age, and just truly being like transfixed, right? Tunde, you know, and shout out, much like Kelly, shout out to my fellow, shout to another, fellow Nigerian, dude who was, keeping the indie, who was like writing for us on the indie rock scene, made being like an indie rock guy way less weird, to my high school peers, because, in case, because yeah,
Who in the band are you referring to?
Tunde.
Just making sure.
Yeah. No, because
Shout
yeah,
out, shout out.
much like, and but what is so amazing about Dear Science? What is so amazing about Dear Science? Well, I think with what really worked about Dear Science was that, and it's odd that it's kind of now seen a bit as a forgotten album, as one YouTube video made it.
Who said this? We need to diss them right here and right now.
Yeah, yo, it's like the first thing you see when you Google it. Scratch a track. That's
Never even
it.
heard of them.
I don't know. And it's weird, because it's like, I mean,
It's
I
giving
remember,
microaggression.
I remember where I was. I remember like seeing them perform on the Late Show with David Letterman. Once again, shout out to Letterman. He really put a lot of like great acts on, man.
From New York.
Yes. And and just thinking, like, wow, here's a band that really was trying to continuously expand on their horizons. Yes, much like in those great ways that we think of when we think of those great kind of like post punk bands, that yes, punk rock was definitely a heavy foundational tool with that band. But the way they kind of like use it to keep on expanding on their horizons musically, like the baroque pop elements you can hear on Golden Age, or just as and and I guess it's kind of weird looking back on it now because, but this was something that got commented on very frequently. It was like, isn't this the great album to end the Bush administration with? Because there is this feeling of discontent on where the world was going, so, discontent that Tunde just absolutely delivers on, especially on tracks like DLZ, which I'm pretty sure if y'all were like watching Breaking Bad back then was in an episode. And yeah, and yeah, you get that beautiful abstract quality that everyone was fully up in lock with. And and it's like, and there wasn't really anything like that in 2008, man. I mean, like, okay, like, look, man, I'm not trying to diss popular music from 2008, but look, I remember what some of us were singing along to. There was nothing really like this that was like ironically on the radio like that. And
God no.
so yeah, and I think it spoke to that time, much like how Weekend in the City did. It spoke to that time in a really, really captured the essence of like all those weird feelings we were going through at that time, which I guess it's weird to look back on it now because, the Bush administration is so long ago from now. But if you look back at like just how weird it all was feeling to even kind of wanting to believe in a future but not really sure what that future was. I think Dear Science really kind of captured it wonderfully. And it in both its light moments and also in its darker moments. And its closing track, Lover's Day, which is truly this sonic embodiment of like belief, of like experience and love, and the miracle of what you consider love to be. Once again, all delivered wonderfully by Mr. Tunde. And you can't really talk about TV on the radio without also mentioning the wonderful the late Mr. Gerard Smith, who sadly is no longer with us, but was a wonderful part of that band. And I'm glad that TV on the radio kept going strong. But yeah, but we miss you, Mr. Smith. You were a wonderful, absolutely wonderful bassist. And it just hasn't, the music scene just hasn't been the same without you. But shout out to TV on the radio, who they pretty much, their last album was actually like 10 years ago, which an album which I thought was pretty neat. And I thought it was pretty neat and really
Nine Types of Light.
no, that was their follow, up, which I also thought was wonderful. But Seeds.
Okay, my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. But yeah, and I know TV, they're kind of getting back because they needed to take a break. And
Oh,
it
it's
was
funny you
longer.
mentioned that actually. Before I even let you say another
Yeah.
word, you know,
Uh-huh.
I'm clicking around as you're talking, and if you go to the top, if you go to like TV on the radio from Spotify, they are doing a tour this month all the way to December 12th. New York, LA, London, Webster Hall for 4 nights, the 25th, the 26th, the 29th, and the 30th. LA at the El Rey, December 4th, 5th, and 7th. And then in London at the Islington Assembly Hall, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And not me asking you to prom, but like, if I finesse some tickets, would you like to go?
Geez, like, wait, all in like it's in New York. Like, you mean like for like the New
Obviously in
York
New
show?
York, dude. Duh.
Okay. I mean, I it's one. It's Jeez.
Not to scare you,
I
but
mean,
if they haven't all been eaten up by the pre-sale, you'd be interested in going,
yeah.
yes?
I mean, I don't, I mean, hauling myself to New York is,
Motherfucker, I
you know,
got you. I got
I mean,
cheese.
I mean,
He's so hard to please,
if it
y'all. Look at
gets,
this guy.
if the
Best
possibility
case
gets
scenario
more,
on my dime. Yes.
uh, we'll see. We'll talk about it.
I'm
I
taking that
mean,
as a yes.
but to anyone who is able, but to anyone who is, able
Who's in
to,
those towns? Please support the band.
yeah,
Yes.
yes, yeah, seriously. Like what much like Block Party, like TV has nothing to prove to me, but I am always happy to just when they're getting their flowers, and hopefully more attention can be given back to them, because like, come on, like how can, like, Dear Science should not be a forgotten album. I always thought they were bound to get their Grammy nomination. I always thought, like, yo, if like Bonnie Bear can get like a Grammy, surely TV on the radio could. And it never happened, man. I don't know. But
If I
but yeah.
I don't know much about TV on the radio, I'll admit. Like, again, I mentioned Nine Types of Light because that was the album that got me into them, because I had Will Do on repeat for quite some time. And the fact of the matter is, no one makes rock and roll quite like TV on the radio. I wouldn't say that the music is weird, but it just stands out. It definitely stands out from amongst like the usual suspects that they would get associated with. And if there's one thing that like the mainstream cannot stand, is rock music they can't take in at one, just because most rock, it's very straightforward. Oh, this is rock music. Now these motherfuckers are artists, and I think people like I think Bon Iver won that best new artist, John, because like it made like regular people pissed off that like the more popular act did not win. Also, scandal acknowledged in regards to Bon Iver. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, we have albums 51 through 60, which include Blue, Joni Mitchell, Tapestry, Carole King. I'm pretty sure that's on the top 100 list. See, this is why you should
Yeah, both of them. Yeah,
both. Oh
both
shit,
of
that's
them.
right. God damn.
Yeah, Carole King and Joni Mitchell.
Set Yourself on Fire, Stars, Back to Black, Amy Winehouse, another one. The Sea by Corin Bailey Rae. We have The Body, The Blood, The Machine by the Thermals, Scandal Acknowledged.
Yeah.
This Is Hardcore by Pulp, After Hours by Hank Crawford, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill by Miss Lauryn Hill at 59, and Any Other City by Life Without Buildings. And again, for the record, this is not in any particular order. For any of those people are going to be like, oh my gosh, he put Lauryn Hill at number 60. He hates black women.
Yeah.
Bro, relax.
And to show how much that is so like not the case. I think that the person who absolutely should be spoken of next is Miss Corinne Bailey Rae, a wonderful artist who.
Quick side note: didn't she drop this year or did she drop last year?
I think if it was this year, it was like really early. It was like really early because
shout out to Mike the Snare, who like did a big 2023 like albums list. Yeah, it was last year with Black Rainbows.
Yeah.
So shout out to Black Rainbows. Just wanted to say that. Back to you.
Yes. And okay. And Corinne Bailey Rae, an artist who I was fortunate to get into like right as like when her self-titled debut album came, and
the boom of Neo Soul.
Yeah, and that was the wild thing about it, because it's like by 2006, you think of like the acts, you think of like Neo Soul and Angie Stone,
Jill Scott.
Jill Scott,
Scandal
Badu,
acknowledged.
Badu, and all that. And yes, and while Corinne did get kind of labeled on with that, then something that I completely understood. I always felt like her, especially like on her like first two albums, it definitely came off the a lot of the song, like yes, there was the soulful quality of it. But you look at her like vocal delivery, I always felt it was a tad bit more influenced by folk artists, like a Joni Mitchell or a
Wait. I
Joan
thought the Sea
Baez.
was her second album.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Okay, I want to
I
make sure it wasn't.
mentioned in yeah, I mentioned in her
My bad. I'm
self-titled
sorry.
because because once again, that's the one that's her most that's her most well-known work.
Yeah.
But okay, and hey, I was into it then. I was into it in middle school, man. I
Oh,
was
well.
like, yeah, like seriously, and look, I loved Just Like a Star the same way,
Hard. That's a
you
record.
know, you know, or put your records on, put your record on.
Overplayed,
I thought it did, it really did. I mean,
bro.
I love
What was
look,
it? Like, what was that fucking band in like the height of the lockdown that covered it for some weird ass reason? Do you remember?
Rit
Okay,
Momney.
I wanted to make sure it
Yeah,
wasn't like I wasn't the only one who was like, bro, what a choice of a name.
yeah, because it's like an inside joke because like the dude's Mormon, something like that, and
Mm,
I do not acknowledge that cover. I'm not even trying to call it trash. I'm just like, I'm like,
it was a
bro, just
choice, and
listen,
that's me being shady. It was a choice.
like, bro, just listen to the original, man. Just listen to the original, man. I'm like, I ain't even trying to
Big
diss
box retail ruin.
Mitt
Put your
Romney.
records on.
Yeah, but okay, and yes, but there's a reason. And look, I like her self-titled debut album. I thought it was dope. I thought it was dope even in 2006, but I did not put that for a reason. I instead ended up putting her sophomore album, an album that she made. Man, like man, I think she deserves a lot of. Honestly, think she deserves a lot of credit for like where she for making that album, especially at that space in her time, at that space in time, because it's like, yeah, there was all the success and hype that came with that debut album, but unfortunately, her she was having to deal with her personal with a few personal stuff, mainly having to deal with the loss of her husband, Mr. Jason Ray, and unfortunately kind of had his issues with substance abuse, and
Mm.
you know the end result of those issues, and it's her having to kind of deal with that traumatic setback as she was also dealing with her success. That was the reason why this album came out like 4 years after her self-titled debut, but why, if you listen to the album, there's definitely this kind of conflict between her trying to move on with her life and keep pushing forward, even after that. While yeah, feel free to spell.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Does this album stand the test of time without Paris Night's New York Mornings? Because that was something I was going to say earlier. In the same way that like, Put Your Records On or Like a Star, well, definitely Put Your Records On is a bit blitzed in regards to just retail core. I also
Mhm.
hear Paris Night's New York Mornings at my job, and it's like that meme of like that person in the corner that's like, they don't know the songs by Corn Billy Ray. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's like, what good does that do me to say, dude, this is Corn Bailey Ray, and for like Randall's be like, okay, and like, so like bearing that in mind without like its biggest like radio smash, is it something I really should put on to my other R&B heads?
Okay, I would recommend just for the title. Oh, okay, no, not that. For the opening track, are you here? Which is like one of the moments where she is the most direct about her losing her husband, where
Damn,
it's like really where you really do kind of feel that conflict between what like her trying to kind of move on with her life, and to her credit, she very much has dropped.
that's
She's
hard.
you know but also just kind of being in that weird place of having to reconcile with someone who you loved and was very important to you, not being there anymore, and just and the difficulties of trying to pick up the pieces. And and once again, it is that kind of direct conflict between wanting, yes, having a Paris night, New York mornings, which is, and all, but also having a song like I'll do it all again, which was, which I don't know. Have you heard I'll do it all again?
No.
Yeah, another song about her losing her husband, and just that space they were in their relationship where, where like he really did sadly have his issues with substance abuse, and but she really wanted this, and she was really trying to stick with him and trying to be like, hey, look, I know you're in a weird place, but I love you. I love you. I would do it all in terms of choosing you in my life. I would do it all over again. And that was kind of, and I believe like he wrote that like very shortly before she lost him. So and once again, those conflicts and those conflicted those emotions, and just how brilliantly she absolutely delivers on it, man. Like, when it would have been, in my opinion, so easy to just try to make a Put Your Records On part two. When, not this and Put Your Records On, but I know that's the song y'all think of when y'all think of Corinne, and you know and it's an album that, in my opinion, still stands tall beautifully. I consider it an artistic hallmark of Miss Corinne Bailey Ray. And once again, I'm glad that she's still been doing her thing. I mean, once again, shout out to
Yeah,
that last album. So shout out to Corinne Bailey
Black
Ray. Like,
Rainbows in
seriously.
stores now.
Mhm.
Let's keep it moving. I've been keeping
Yeah,
track.
absolutely.
We have at least two slots selected by the C and Dear Science. So we have 8 more um potholes to fill. Let's keep it moving. 61 all the way to 70. We got Get Awkward by Beer Own Pet, United by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. May they both rest in peace. We have MTV Unplugged, Tony Bennett, rest in peace. We have True by Solange. We have The Score by Fugees. We have Dylan's Gospel by the Brothers and Sisters. We have A Walk Across the Rooftops by the Blue Nile. Scandal acknowledged. Proof of Youth by the Go Team. Masters of the Universe by Binary Star. And Dorothy's Harp by Dorothy Ashby. We have quite the crop here. So how about you I have a request. Can you tell the audience about oh shit, shout out to my goat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Can you tell the audience about the album because like when we were like cooking up together, you had 101 albums, and funnily
Yeah.
enough, because like I've been cracking jokes about it here and there, you have a lot of albums on this list that are also on the Apple list. by no fault of your own. And one of those albums
Yeah.
was What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. And I'm like, you have to pick one. And you chose his collaboration with Tammy Terrell. It should
Oh
be kind of
yeah.
obvious. It should be kind of obvious if you didn't know that like these were the two artists who sang "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." But much
Mhm.
like the last album, if that song wasn't on it, why should people hear this specific like classic?
Oh, and and okay, and like, and I think in terms of like Ain't No Mountain High Enough, like, look, and like, there's certain songs that, yes, I know they get overplayed. I know you have heard them every which and every place here and there. Like, shout out to like Remember the Titans for putting a lot of
Oh
us on,
yes,
man. Like, but and I say this and because and I say this to say that, yes, I know the song "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" is kind of overplayed. It's still that amazing. It really is, like,
it's true.
possibly one of the greatest songs of all time. Like, look, like, I'm sorry, you can't front. If you can try and front on it, like, but sorry, I'm not gonna listen to you. But yes, you take away Ain't No Man High Enough. Ain't No Man High Enough. And is this still an album? You should listen to? And yeah, absolutely. I think okay, and I guess to kind of give a bit of context, by all means, Marvin Gaye was already a very established artist within Motown, even by that time. And honestly, and so if anything, this was and he had already been doing like collab albums, because this was something Motown really liked doing back in the day. And okay, and yes, and in fact, I believe even around this year, well, no, actually, well, sorry, a year prior, he had already like dropped an absolutely amazing album would that would also have a very defining song. Ain't That Peculiar, from his The Moods of Marvin Gaye album. But I picked United, because something that would unfortunately get kind of lost when Miss Terrell would leave this world tragically very young. Marvin Gaye knew how to work with others. Marvin Gaye knew how to work with others and really utilize his strength to get to elevate others. And while, yes, he would do collab out. He had already had a pretty solid history with collab albums. I mentioned the one he did with Kim Weston, Take Two. United, true to its name, truly showed two people who worked so well with one another that heck, you probably would have believed that they were actually singing to
Singing to
one
one another.
another.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's a quality that comes off so magically. Yes, absolutely, on Ain't No Mountain High Enough, which, yes, is every bit as a masterpiece song as ever. Like, seriously, never try and front on Ain't No Mountain High Enough. I don't care how overplayed that song is. Yes, it's overplayed, but yes, it's also that
It
amazing.
deserves it.
But it's also shown on, like, if this world were mine, which is like feels like such a fairy tale of a song of just truly, of just truly believing that, loving someone so much, that knowing that, hey, I don't care what this world throws at me. I don't care what this world throws at me. It is worth living because of you. And it is
Mm.
these strengths that Marvin and Tammy were so consistent at really being able to utilize from one another. And the Motown, like, look, Motown has the classics. They just do. They just do. I don't need to go into detail about how and why Motown has the classics, but it's so, but for Motown to be so consistent with these records back in that time, I mean, the legend speaks for itself, in my opinion. And I think if you want a really good old classic soul pop record of that time, you really are going to be in a great place with Marvin and Tammy Terrell's United. And yes, Marvin and Tammy would make other albums. You're All I Need, which is great. Even if you're like me and came into it more because of a Method Man and Method Man and Mary J. Blige cover, but
Oh,
yeah, yeah. I mean, that. But yeah, I mean, Marvin and Tammy truly were a wonderful force with one another. That it's like, and even though like people would definitely be hesitant in you saying that what's going on was kind of his response to Tammy's death, because and I get why people don't really like attributing that to them, because yes, there was a lot more stuff kind of going on in the world. But Marvin was also very, very open about how much losing Tammy just kind of seriously messed him up for a while. It's and I think it very much shows in a lot of his wonderful 70s run, but also how even when Motown would try to kind of recapture that magic years later by actually having him do another collaboration album, but this time with Diana Ross. Diana Ross. I think I think the pain of losing Tammy just like really struck to him for so long that that album, which is a neat album, but you can tell the chemistry just wasn't there, because
mm,
because after all that magic that he was kind of able to create alongside with Tammy, how can, even with a Diana Ross, how can you
of all
replace it?
people.
Yeah.
And
So,
once
but so
again, just
yes.
like rest in peace to Tammy Terrell, rest in peace Marvin Gaye. Shout out to Diana Ross. What a star. I'll
Mhm.
the clip of like Beyonce running to her during the Renaissance tour lives rent free in my head, because she really is mother, and not in a white people misusing AAV kind of way. She really is mother. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Um Album 71 through 80. Let's keep it moving. We have Love This Giant by David Byrne and St. Vincent. Scandal acknowledged. Time Out of Mind by Bob Dylan. Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. Paul's Boutique by Beastie Boys. We have the Tony Bennett and Bill Evans album by Tony Bennett and Bill Evans. Number 76 is Lupe Fiasco's The Cool by Lupe Fiasco. We have A Wizard, a True Star by Todd Rundgren. Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix. I'll Sleep When You're Dead by LP. And Plastic Ono Band, Self-Titled. I'm going to call you out right away because, due to my own insistence, I demanded, quote unquote, that each artist could only be on here once. And you snuck something by me, my boy. For some reason, good old Uncle Tony is here twice. Explain yourself. Who is Bill
Uh,
Evans for the uninitiated, aka me?
Okay, and I am going to go into so many details on that. One moment, I gotta shut a door, but I'll be back. I'll be back.
Yeah, lock that shit while you at it. Yeah, you need a big old recording button in that house.
Oh,
My
jeez.
friends, it
Okay,
is
so
11:09 on November 2nd. Thank you for tuning in.
okay, and it is so cool, and it is, and I, and I definitely, and thank you for calling me out on, on technically put in Tony Bennett twice, and I
He
don't
is the
blame you
GOAT,
for not,
so
yeah, and I don't blame you for not noticing this, but
not
technically, Bill,
noticing what.
I also put Bill Evans twice, man.
Wait,
Bill Evans.
is Bill? Is he in the Vince Guardi trio?
No, no, no. He's on Miles Davis Kinds of Blue.
Oh shit! What instrument does he play?
Piano.
I had no fucking idea.
So yeah. So yeah.
Bruh, I'm a true
So
like
yeah.
jazz civilian. So go in. Damn, you and
Okay.
shout out to you for snitching on yourself. Cause like what? Wow.
Okay. But okay.
Dickhead.
But okay. But look, Tony Bennett was truly, and I'm very thankful that I really kind of got a chance to appreciate him while he was still here. Tony Bennett, truly one of the great talents of his time, and even among his fellow kind of big band of
Of
the
all time. Not even
contemporaries.
of his time, like of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah, and just to kind of keep it straight, like Frank Sinatra was giving Tony Bennett props even then,
I
that
definitely
was,
prefer a Tony Bennett. I'm not gonna front. And that's not to be like edgy
yeah.
or contrarian. I just because you think of Tony Bennett, you see that's like you again, like I shit on country dudes having like this having like that flawless smile. Tony Bennett really had a flawless smile. So when I hear him sing, I imagine just like his warm face, like just
Mhm.
like that and like I know I have my like my I know I have a political issue with Shorty nowadays, but like
Mhm.
before we lost Tony, just like him have like I feel like they had like Lady Gaga around often towards like the end of his life because he remembered like the work they did together, and that made me feel really like this. It made me feel loved inside because I imagine it must have been like a lifelong accomplishment for her to work with dude not once but twice.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I completely understand your political issue with
I'll
Gaga,
put it in the comments if you're wondering.
Ye- and yeah, and it's a conflicted relationship. I can attest to myself because yeah, I give Gaga a lot of credit, and in fact, as someone who did, because because Tony, yes, one out. I'd mentioned, it had already been mentioned that I also put Tony Bennett's MTV Unplugged album on here. But the funny thing about that, Tony Bennett did MTV Unplugged twice.
No
You know,
shit.
yes, yes, and yes. There's the album, which I loved even as a teenager. And he ends that album by saying oh wow, it's been so wonderful to be here. I would love to do this. I'd love to do this again. And I remember listening to that thinking, man, they're never gonna bring Tony Bennett back on MTV Unplugged. Like, come on, we got lucky with this, man. They're not gonna bring him back, and they did.
And yet,
And I
truly a
think,
class act. Man said
and
one
I
more
give
again.
and I give so much props to Lady, and I definitely think Lady Gaga was responsible for that. So, in spite of my kind of conflicted relationship, my own kind of conflicted relationship, much for the same reason, for how much she really kind of just made sure that Tony continued to get his flowers till he was till as much
Literally
as
the
humanly
day of.
possible. yeah, I will always show her a lot of love for that. And I think it was something that was really needed, because especially because I feel like a relationship he would have had he not had things been differently, that he ended up having with Lady Gaga. But it was also very clear that he really wanted to have this professional artistic relationship with Amy Winehouse, who
Ah,
who also did a
shit.
collab together.
I didn't know
And yeah,
that.
yeah, body and soul. They even shot it like this. Well, I don't know if it's like a music video, but like there's a video of them singing body and soul together. And yeah, and Mr. Bennett was very, very open about how it kind of hurt, because Mr. Bennett, all like, I don't know how, like, admittedly I don't go that deep
Yeah,
on
there's a
it, but
video.
like, but I understand that Mr. Bennett, unfortunately, was no stranger to seeing people who he worked with, unfortunately, have to succumb due to issues with substance abuse. And he he had spoken about how much it kind of really hurt to see her kind of going through that, even while they were doing their thing together, and how much he really wanted to be one of the people to, like, kind of like, hey, Amy, like, hey, Amy, you got a lot more songs in you. And that kind of regret that thankfully was able to be, that blow, which was able to be a tad bit softened by the fact that him and Gaga would end up being such great BFFs, up to the end. But I mentioned that I guess in terms of seeing people who he worked alongside with, who he loved and had nothing but respect for, unfortunately losing them due to issues with substance abuse. That's technically also a relationship he had with Bill Evans.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So okay, come to 70s, Tony was kind of in a weird place, weird place in terms of his career, where it's like, we know the artists we consider when we talk about the 60s and 70s, you talk about the 60s, you're thinking about the Beatles and such and such and such and such. So there was a moment where it felt like, man, is there really a space for a Tony Bennett anymore? And it was him kind of being in that kind of weird place, commercially, where he didn't really know where his kind of place was, but he was still very determined to keep trying. And whereas Evans, who also, once again, was very well respected within the jazz scene, not, yes, yes, him and the work he did with Miles Davis, but he cut a lot of wonderful, wonderful solo albums. Also did a really cool collaboration album with truly one of the great saxophone players of all time, Cannonball Adderley. And but there was such a really great mutual respect between Bill and Tony, that it was Tony's idea. Like, he was the one who would say, like, "Yo, Bill, we gotta do like an album. We gotta do an album together. Like, like, I don't care what it sells. I don't care what the record labels are really gonna think. Let's just do a straight album together. It's just you, and it will just be me, and we're gonna do this thing." And technically they did two albums together, but
Wow.
their first album was just truly, truly, truly captivating. And you know and the wonderful, heartbreaking quality that Bill Evans always possessed as a piano player, like, truly, like some, they're Bill Evans, so they're like blue, all kinds of blue, blues and green. That song, that is a song that can make you want to cry. And so much of that, and so much of what makes it is because of Bill Evans on the piano. So you hear these two artists really kind of utilizing on their strengths, and I would argue it's probably I don't want to I don't know if I could call I don't know if I want to call it dark, but it's probably like truly one of the more like definitely one of the more can be at times one of the more somber albums that Tony ever did. And from the opening track, Young and Foolish, I think their rendition of Waltz for Debbie, a Bill Evans number that had already become a bit of a vocal standard by that time, but that bitter, but that bittersweet energy of that song that I guess what had always been in that song had always been in that song, just truly comes alive with Tony. Like when he that final because I believe it was a dedication to Bill's niece, whose name actually was Debbie. And that the final line that always kind of stuck with me, they will, which is basically about seeing a young, someone grow up and understanding that they're going to kind of move on and have their own life, they move on and have their own lives. And when he says, they will miss her, but so will I. And man, it just really sticks with you. And of course, there's also how the closing track, their rendition of the Days of Wine and Roses, which, what and keep in mind, Days of Wine and Roses, which I know I have the Blu-ray here, but I'm not gonna look for it.
We believe that you have it.
But yeah, Days of Wine and Roses, a film from the early '60s about about the beginning and end of a relationship that comes alive, but also ends up deteriorating due to their mutual alcoholism. And that song ended up winning an Academy Award. I mean, you hear it in the film, and you truly do feel the haunting powers of it. And but in its original form, because it was produced by Henry Mancini, it was written and produced by Henry Mancini, who Henry Mancini, probably best known for Pink Panther, but and and in its original form, it's very lush. It's very lush. It's very, very sentimental. And when they did it, just a piano and Tony singing, you just truly feel that utter somber realization of two people who were able to love each other for so many reasons, but mainly due to their mutual alcoholism, and then kind of come into that realization of like, oh, we can't do this anymore. And because we can't do this anymore, we're moving apart from one another. And I think like it. I've always considered Tony had a lot of artistic highlights, and this truly does stand as one of them. So, to anyone, feel free to check out. They did 2 albums together, but yeah, the Tony Bennett Bill Evans album is truly an album to check out on. And really, you can really feel the mutual fondness and respect, and how much Bill and Tony were trying to like really kind of play up on both of their strengths. And and Tony really loved Bill. And unfortunately, when Bill would also end up being kind of losing his own battle with substance abuse. Tony really did take Tony did really kind of take it hard for a bit.
Hey, rest in peace, Bill Evans, and rest in peace, Tony Bennett. We have 20 albums to go. We will probably wrap up in 2.5 hours. Thank you to our 4 listeners. We really appreciate y'all.
Wow, 4 listeners. Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
we've come a long way, you and I. We only have maybe about like 4 albums selected since we've been chatting, but we'll skim back over like the albums we've been discussing and we'll see where it goes. Albums 81 through 90 include Thriller by Michael Jackson, also featured on the Apple list, Janet by Janet Jackson, Jazzmatazz Volume 1 by Guru and Donald Byrd. All right, I'm gonna do the whole thing. You know what's coming. You know
you're really gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking do it.
I just wrote the first 3 words, man.
Nah. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. Okay. And if you know what's coming, you know what's coming. Okay. Where is it? Oh, I know it's here somewhere.
Like,
oh my god!
Shit, I was completely. Yeah, like for our listeners, I was completely. I just wrote the first 3 words. I completely expected him to just say the first 3 words because the title is like literally. I think is in the Guinness World Records for like longest album title ever. Like,
Okay, so the 1999 release by Fiona Apple. When the pawn hits a conflict, he thinks like a king. What he knows, throws the blows when he goes to the fight, and he'll win the whole thing before he enters the ring. There's no body to batter when your mind is your might. So when you go solo, you hold your own hand. And remember that death is the greatest of heights. And if you know where you stand, then you know where to land. And if you fall, it won't matter because you'll know that you're right.
Yes.
Yeah. Number 85. Bizarre Ride to the Far Side by the Far Side. 86 is Mecca and the number 1 Soul Brother, Pete Rock and CL Smooth. 87, Mike City Sons by Heat Miser. 88 is Reasonable Doubt by Hove, Jay-Z. 89 is The Days of Wine and Roses by the Dream Syndicate. Funny, we just talked about that a minute ago.
Yeah.
And number 90 is Hard to Earn by Gangstar. Do I have a request? No, that's in our final 10. But once again, you know what? Here, let me do this. As our residential Hove head, what makes the debut LP by Jay-Z so fucking special?
Okay, and like, look, like praising Jay-Z, talking about why Jay-Z is so awesome. It's like talking about, hey, like, wait, hey, Jay-Z, he seems cool. Like, oh, hey, the Yankees, they win baseball games. People like the Yankees. Like that.
Oof,
people like
soon.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah. Sorry. I didn't even mean that as yeah. I didn't even mean that as shade. It just is. It just is what it is, man. But okay.
Congratulations to the Dodgers.
Yeah. Shout to the Dodgers. Like, seriously, like, between the two of y'all, it's Dodgers every day. But okay. But and then we get into reasonable doubt, which I feel like in terms of albums he's done, which yes, the Blueprint, the Black Album, which I still ironically prefer more when you mix it with the White Album, but sadly,
hey, Paul McCartney, the loyals wouldn't stop me.
Yeah. Yes, but okay, but in terms of an album where Jay-Z is undoubtedly at his hungriest, really willing to prove that I'm like, I got this and you should be paying attention to me. look, I mean, yeah, it goes back to Reasonable Doubt. And look, this ain't even me being on like, yo, because look, I've heard on to the next one, like, they want my old ish, back, buy my old album. Like, yeah, I know, I know. But like, look, sometimes you hit it out of the park on your first try, and even though you are still one of the most consistent artists in the game, there's always going to be that people who are like, yo, but when you did it the first time. And what better example than reasonable doubts? An album that's, yes, was very much kind of in line with where particularly East Coast rap was at that time, when everyone wanted to be the mafioso, wanted to do the mafioso thing, and like, like, I mean, I know we took Big off the list, but yes, Big, you were deep on that, Mr. Frank White, and and Wu Tang was all about it. It like really, yeah. Everyone, Nas, yeah, Nas. It was written, yeah, like really, like 94 through, I guess you could say 97. Every East Coast rapper was on the mafioso thing, and look, and hey, it was what it was. But the few that just really kind of end up like truly putting it to a place of prestige, the way Jay Z just did with Reasonable Doubt. And keep in mind, the thing people kind of forget about Jay Z is that like Jay Z had been at it since like the 80s, actually. Like, with alongside with his then partner Jazzo, and you know um, type in Hawaiian Sophie and watch the Hawaiian Sophie video. Like, Jay-Z was at it for a while, and Jay-Z has come a long way. Yeah, but and the thing is, I guess it's weird to look back at it now, but like, I don't think people really understood where, like, I don't think even the East Coast understood like where Jay, how much Jay was really about to set things on fire, man. Because like, even by this point, like, okay, there was what he did with Jazzo. There was him doing the track with original flavor. Shout out to Ski, who's a producer on this as well. And then there's also shout out to Big Daddy Kane, who he had already done a track with, I think Show Improve, which I think its producer DJ Premier legend has spoken
Primo.
about. But which all leads into this album, where on which okay, it helps that him and Rockefeller were kind of solidified at that point, but they fully come in, absolutely blazing, just ready to make it clear, like, yo, I am someone that needs to be taken serious. I am someone that needs to be taken seriously. And look, and I adore Can't Knock the Hustle. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful song. Awesome music video, in my opinion. But I think it was just the experience of hearing dead presidents, when I did. That was just like, wow. Here's this guy on his first album, just kind of like, and seriously, check out the Dead Presidents video. Beautiful, it's absolutely just a hallmark of that kind of 90s era. And and this was a Jay-Z, who even on, yes, it was his first album, but he had already kind of learned so much from his past experience, from working with jazz, from being with Original Flavor, from being with Big Daddy Kane, and his style had already evolved. Like he already had this really great understanding of how to present himself, and how to kind of reflect on his experiences, and what he really wanted the world to see when they saw Jay Z. And and yeah, that's not to say I mean, and he did it so well that in a way he's never really had to make a reasonable doubt to. Though American Gangster is kind of the closest to you get to a reasonable doubt too. But
I
he
admittedly have not heard American Gangster since high school, so I'll go ahead and give you that one.
But yeah, like reasonable doubt truly, like, if you really kind of want to get a I because I hey, look, I know we romanticize the 90s a lot, we do. And and hey, I'll be the first to admit sometimes we romanticize it a tad bit too much. I mean, heck, I mean,
More than a tad these days.
yeah, I mean, hey, I had to. Hey, yes, I had to make that. Like, in terms of getting rid of Tupac and Biggie on that list. That was something that I did
A big
reluctantly.
ask, huh?
Yeah, that was something I did reluctantly, but because of certain contexts with those records, that I feel like I'm at a point where I feel like I need to separate myself from. I get it, but it is a time that is romanticized for a reason. And when one of these people who has already learned so much from working with various other contemporaries, is able to kind of come in and just really solidify why they should be treated like a big deal. Like, yeah, Blueprint is wonderful. Black Album is lovely, but, like, probably the best depiction of, like, utter determination to be taken seriously. Into Jay-Z never truly did get as higher in that determination as he did with Reasonable Doubt. But that, not for lack, but to be honest, it worked so well, he didn't even really need to try again, man. I mean, and I mean, and hey, I like In My Lifetime. I like In My Lifetime Volume One. I like Hard Knock Life. I really do. But it's like, but I think there's certain times where you just already hit it out of the park on your first go, that it's like, you know, even if you never come close to it again, it's kind of whatever, because it's like, how many people were even expecting you to do it that right on the first go in general, man? That's what Reasonable Doubt is to me.
Well, shit. No way I can follow that up. Let's go and mosey on down to the last 10. We have Los Angeles by X, No Japan. We have the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus by the Rolling Stones. 93 is Ram by Paul and Linda McCartney, scandal acknowledged. We have Hunky Dory by David Bowie, scandal acknowledged. We have Song of Innocence by David Axelrod, shout out Lil Wayne. We have Sun Song by Sun Ra, Pink Moon by Nick Drake, Remain in Light by Talking Heads, our final similarity to the Apple list, Summer Teeth by Wilco, and finally, Game Theory by The Roots. Shout out to Matt Pat. And that is the album I'd like you to end our just kind of like through line through like your your mischievous mind. What, and of all like the, because you mentioned the Roots before when we were covering the 2017 music with Benjamin Booker. So what speaks to you about this particular release from Philadelphia's The Roots? And
Oh
speak
yeah,
about it as
yeah,
the Questlove's in the room.
yeah, and you know, and also, and you know, and by all means, you know, this is not me trying to just kiss up to Philadelphia right now,
Certainly not.
just because of who I'm talking to. But okay, but yes, the Roots tech. Okay, another crew that technically kind of started in the late '80s, but you know would really come alive in the '90s. And much like how I consider the Rolling Stones, where it's like they just kind of have that many consistently solid albums that it's like, oh hey, what's your favorite Roots album? It's Illadelph Half Life. No, actually, it's
Do you want more?
Dance. Yeah, do you want more? It's Dance Fall Apart. What was really okay, and then you get to the game theory, which an album which once again kind of came at the perfect time for me because even though I was already like a Roots fan, already a Roots fan, and I kind of owe. I think like tipping point was really kind of where like I kind of like started really kind of getting to know them, you know, Tipping Point, which also really cool album, though. I know Questlove like made an IG post years ago where he kind of went into detail about why he kind of has a conflicted relationship with Tipping Point and
Wow.
just yeah, because you know it was like, I mean, look, and I guess this is kind of weird to say now because like there's a whole generation of people, for a whole generation of people, the Roots are that goofy band that you see on every episode of the Tonight Show with
Goofy,
Jimmy Fallon. Like I don't know.
lighthearted, maybe
Like, you know, because
jovial.
I feel like because I feel like Questlove gets treated like a meme now, and it's like, yeah, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, look, I understand that for a lot of y'all, for a lot of Middle America, the Roots are, you know, they're that band that jokes with Jimmy Fallon, and look, I know it's really easy to make fun of Jimmy Fallon. I do that as well. I do that as well. But like, but I've always kind of said, but one thing I've always said about Fallon is that like, look, Jimmy Fallon gave the Roots some permanent job security. So on that aspect, he's always going to get props from me. Like, you know, if I ever see Jimmy Fallon on the streets, I'm going to be like, yo, thank you for what you did for the Roots. Like, seriously. So it's kind of hard to believe that in the 2000s, though very much a critically acclaimed crew, a crew that very much got their props. Like, yeah, is it hard to believe that in the 2000s that like in terms of like rappers and hip hop acts that were really kind of getting that kind of public love, the Roots kind of just didn't really get that kind of love. Like they got props, but like, you know, but like the Roots had been getting like Grammy nominations since like Dance Fall Apart. And I do think got a Grammy, but like in terms of like the Roots getting like Grammys like that didn't really happen till like they did their collaboration album with John Legend. And you know, and shout out to that album. That album is cool.
It's a good
But
album.
yeah, wonderful. Okay. But Tipping Point, that was the album that I really kind of credit with introducing me to the Roots. And Game Theory came at a point where I was like very determined, where I was kind of like very determined in terms of like find of like like really kind of understanding the music that kind of gravitated to me. Like, yeah, I was into hip hop like that even then, but like, but 2006 was like around that time where I was like, okay, there's the hip hop that's like really, really popular right now that I can get into like everyone else's. But there's the stuff that actually kind of gravitates to me. And game theory could not have come out at a perfect time. And it was an album, it was an album where like you really kind of felt the Roots kind of confronting their place in society, their place in the music industry, under kind and kind of just being at this place of like, okay, yeah, we know that when people think of like rap right now, it's like 50 Cent. It's like 50 Cent. And it's like, and we got nothing against that, but it's like there is so much more going on in the world right now. And something even Questlove says, it's like, I feel like we were at a point where everyone just wanted to party. And it's like, yo, there's like so much going on in the world. Why aren't we being honest and trying to reflect that in the music? And it's why like even then I was like, yo, there's no way this album's actually gonna like get like is it it's like actually gonna like get big like that. Like this album would end up being nominated for a Grammy, and alongside with Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor. But I did not even pretend to be surprised when the album that actually won the Grammy for that year did. And it's not even a bad album. It's not even a bad album, not no disrespect to Ludacris. No disrespect to Ludacris, but it was like I don't know. I mean, and the Ludacris album would have that runaway love song with Mary J. Blige. But there was something about the game theory where like the group was just so openly reflecting on the world they were living in. The world, a world where we had just had seen what had gone on with Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, a world where we still had the Iraq War going on, and just where Philly was at that point in time, not the best place, unfortunately. And I don't, I'm not in a position to really kind of speak on I don't know where Philly is Philly is in terms of that, where it is now, so
Oh boy, don't get me started.
you know so it felt gratifying to hear a hip hop album that was kind of so openly willing to reflect on where we were socially. I mean, where we were socially, and and when Don't Feel Right came out as the first single, I was like, yeah, this is what we need right now, man. This is what we need right now.
Mm.
And once again, and Black Dot very openly talking about, yo, things are messed up right now, man. Things are absolutely messed up right now, and now more than ever, we really need to be confronted that. So much so that an album which it's like it's been nearly 20 years since this album came out. I don't even know if this album even went gold. It even went gold, but kind of predicting how understanding how like their commercial prospects were very limited. Even Black Dot says like, hey, if you can't afford this album, I'm cool with you stealing it, man. Like I'm cool with you stealing it. He says that on Don't Feel Right. And yeah, that was I was absolutely taken aback by it. I mean, it was also an album that was kind of made at a fairly difficult time because because 2006, we lost Jay Dilla, and and Questlove and Jay were like really cool like that. And I think the opening track is kind of like their tribute, Dilettastic Volume Wonderful, which was like kind of them kind of taking a Dilla beat, but it was them kind of reflecting on just kind of being in this kind of like difficult place in the world, and difficult place in terms of even knowing where they stood as artists, because I mentioned Tipping Point and the very conflicted relationship that Questlove has with that, because well, Tipping Point was when they were no longer on MCA Records, which Questlove has spoken about how MCA was wonderful to them, how like MCA really kind of understood them. They were kind of back, they were on Geffen and Interscope, and being on that Geffen slash Interscope, and who's the really hot artist, who's the really hot artist in rap right now? It's 50 Cent. And even though like the record label was like completely like, oh yeah, hey, this right, your Tipping Point album, it's cool, but like, but try and make it a tad bit commercial, like try and make it a bit more radio friendly, and Quest tried to go along with it, but he obviously was not happy about it. And then and so kind of going from there to Game Theory, which would not be on Geffen Interscope, but they would request to instead have it be on Def Jam, which was a cool time. Which, to their credit, Def Jam was in a pretty cool place, because this was back when Jay-Z was running Def Jam, so it was like okay, and Jay and the Roots were cool like that. So it was like, there was this kind of feeling that like like there's a space for this kind of hip hop to actually be able to exist in. And I mean, like, have you ever listened to any songs from Game Theory?
No, and that's kind of why I wanted you to go in, because like the fact, like the proof is in the pudding. I even checked like the RIAA ratings, and they've only been on there 3 times, and Game Theory is not there. And I just wanted to, we for considering all that like the Roots have done for hip hop, with like Questlove Supreme, with like the Roots Picnic, all the tours they've gone on all over the world and shit. It's like the Roots is one of those acts that like I feel like needs more of like their flowers. Like people like, oh, like what would the game really look like if like they were like properly received and respected during their career, in the sense of like if they were like syndicated on the air, not just played on some out of respect for the game type shit. Like, oh, like sincerely, like if rap radio looked the way that it was supposed to, where like you have like the Four Nations, like you have like the flash in the pan 15 seconds of fame rappers, you have like your backpackers, you have like your focus on women MCs, and then like like your wild cards, like the Roots, or any like full like maybe like the fucking Flowbots or shit like that. So
Yeah.
rest in peace Malik B. The time is 11:52. I want to try and wrap up before midnight, and we have 5 albums to select to put back into the orchard. The pressure is on. Let's start skimming. I know you have all that shit in by hand. Is there anything we might have missed? I might go back through the list and suggest albums to you, because right now all we have is Dear Science, The Sea, Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, Tony Bennett and Bill Evans, and now Game Theory. What more can we add to the mix?
Okay, so that's like 3 or 4.
5, my friend.
Oh, 5. Oh, okay, 5. Okay. All right. Gee. Okay. Yeah. All right. Geez.
I have a
Okay.
suggestion.
Okay.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. So, yeah, shoot.
Do you think we could make a case for the cool?
For the cool, Lupe, yes.
It's
Yeah,
kind of like
I
it's kind of like
feel.
a Kendrick before Kendrick, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and I think the cool would really kind of be the last time that Lupe was able to kind of allowed it
Respected
to,
as a full
while,
MC in the world at
yeah,
large.
and probably the last time he was really kind of like given that space to, obviously, to be able to balance himself both in terms of like his social commentary while also kind of making records that could be played on the radio. Because
Yep,
I remember when Superstar came out, like, you know,
everywhere,
shoot, not,
fucking
yeah,
everywhere.
like, like that song came out freshman year, my freshman year of high school, and
Mm.
I was, and I remember, like, because even then I was trying to kind of do the TV then, which, geez, yeah. So I
Hey, it's
used
still
to work for my
possible. So,
I used to, so I was at my, so my school had their own TV news club, and I would kind of like do some stuff with them, and and I don't know what to say about kind of like having a TV club in high school is
all
like,
high
but in
schools
my
have AV
experience,
clubs, dude.
yeah, but in my experience, our anchors were also the people who were responsible for like the song, for like if you would hear the songs you would hear before our broadcast, and they never could, but they really wanted to play Lupe Fiasco. They were
They
singing
could have. That's
along,
bullshit. They could have.
like they were singing along to Superstar, like before, like there was like a good week where like our anchors, like before we would go on air, were singing along to Superstar. So that's how much, like, like the kind of like nerdy theater AV kids, even the like white, by the way, white, because I was like, I'm not saying like, I wasn't like the only black guy in my TV news club, but it was like
You were
me
outnumbered.
and, yeah, know, but shout out to our executive producer Greenlee, who Miss Greenlee, who was also black, so, and always tried to make me feel included. Uh, but even they were rocking with Lupe. They were rocking with Lupe, and that I would say that was like the last time he was kind of allowed to have his kind of cake
To
and eat it
be
too.
himself.
Yeah, because we all know what would happen with lasers, which I don't even hate lasers.
I don't
I
either.
don't
There's a
even
lot of
hate
songs that
lasers,
I
as
like.
but after that, he would definitely get way more on the social commentary then, and and as he deserved to, as he had stuff to say, but understandably, the social commentary does not get it does not get the commercial love. People on TikTok are not like rocking to drill music from Zion like that. You
Well,
know.
at least not like let's not say that, because that's not true. The fact of the matter is, creators who are passionate for that kind of hip hop are not floating to the top, but they are most certainly making commentary. It's just like, like it's, Lupe went back underground for a lack of a better term, and whether you want to call it bitterness or just being mistreated by like the powers that be, like, I saw a video of Jadakiss giving Lupe his flowers, and that's all the fuck that I need from this bullshit industry. In like the least pretentious way possible. Dumb it down. let's move on. We don't have a lot of time.
Mm, yes.
Next suggestion, I think, if I know you, we should put Proof of Youth in this 10 spot that we're preparing for you. Do you agree or disagree?
Yes, yes, massively. And there's a reason I put Proof of Youth and not their better known debut album, which they're actually touring for the 20th anniversary of, which they should. But I remember in an interview where Go Team leader and pretty much all around mastermind of that band, Ian Parton mentioned it as his least favorite Go Team album, which
Oh,
I which like I understood because it's like it's the one Go Team album that does not really get spoken about like that, but also kind of crushed me because that was the album that really kind of solidified me as a fan. I think to not ramble too much, I think it is an album that it's an album that understood what worked about their debut album and understood what people were gravitating towards. Plays up on that, but you could still see you could not see, hear the band still trying to kind of like continue play up on that and see how far they can continue to go with what they had already done with their self-titled with not it's not self-titled, their debut album. And I think like it's weird. It's like as much as I want to be understanding about Ian's low opinion on that album, it's also kind of weird to me because like legit some of their best songs as a band are literally on that album, and at the same time also like really brilliantly playing up on so much of their uniqueness, especially their fondness for 80s hip hop. 80s hip hop, they were able to get Chuck D on Flashlight Fight. And unfortunately, you either have to get the album or you have to YouTube it because Spotify says the version of Flashlight Fights, with Chuck D, but they're lying. They're lying. That is not the song on the album. Like I know what that song sounds like. What you hear on Spotify is not that song, and
what is it?
Flash. Yeah, it's called Flashlight Fights. Go Team featuring Chuck D. You can find it
No,
on
but
YouTube.
no,
You can
no, no,
find
no, no, no. But what song is? Since it's not the correct song, what song is it?
No, I think it's the same song, but it's like a different version that just doesn't where
Have
like
the verse.
Ninja, yeah, Ninja basically does all the heavy lifting, which it's like I guess I
What else is
kind of
new?
get it, but yeah, that is just, but yeah, that was truly one of the great, truly one of their great songs, along with Titanic Vandalism, which I thought was wonderful. I thought the Wrath of Marcy, where once again they're brilliantly kind of playing up on their love for funk music. And Ninja, like really, like Proof of Youth is special for me for many reasons because it's like I think of like even though Ian has called Ninja kind of like the de facto spokesman of the Go Team, like I don't know
Lead
if
singer.
she's ever yeah, I don't know if she ever really got the chance to like fully like be on lock with the Go Team the way
She did not.
was on Proof of Youth. Because yeah, and this isn't even me dissing anything. It's just like
Not at all.
Ian loves collabing with a lot of other artists. So there'll be an album where it's like, this person's on a track here and there, but like the pressure really, in my opinion, was really on like kind of on Ninja to deliver, and she delivers on so many songs, and truly, I don't know if the day I meet Ian, I'm gonna have to like be like yo, like like, I know you might not like it the way you like your other albums, but you got it. But like, seriously, Proof of Youth is one of your best works. And yeah, and I also think if you want to once again talk about how cool the 2000s indie scene was, perfect album to go to, in my opinion.
Listen, I'll say this one. Big shout out to Ninja for being like the third Nigerian we've like shouted out by name. And
that wasn't even intentional too.
I know. I also want to say there are only two people in my life who like the Go Team, and they're both black. So like we need to put on for this incredible band. And speaking of the Go Team, my next suggestion for like your 10 piece would be one of their collaborators with Destiny Constantino, Best Coast. I think we should put Best Coast on your list.
Yeah. I would agree. I think like okay.
Shout out to Bob, by the way. Hi, Bob.
Oh yeah, and also Bethany, who's about to become a mother.
Yay,
Shout
congrats,
out.
Bethany. That's so cool.
And look, and I don't know what the future for Best Coast will be, but once again, like a lot of these bands I've kind of spoken about, one thing I've always said is that whatever happens, you guys don't really owe me anything anymore, because when you guys
did everything that they could.
Yeah, when you guys were amazing, you guys were amazing, and I think Crazy on You. I mean, great. I mean, look, hey, we're Crazy on You, man. That like summer of 2010, man. Like, if you were like really, if you were like really cool, you were bumping that album, and it stands up beautifully. And even though Miss Bethany has moved on from that sound, and hey, look, I'll put it out there. Her solo debut album, I thought was really was solid. I thought it really, yes, very Sheryl Crow inspired. And hey, to anyone who's like really liking where like Miley Cyrus is now musically, I don't know what album she dropped, but the one that had flowers on it. Yeah, like if you kind of want to hear something that's kind of around that neighborhood, yeah, I think Bethany's Natural Disaster album is perfect. It's perfect if you're really looking for something. But yeah, shout out. But yeah, Best Coast. I mean, that and I'm not gonna like mention the artist's name, who I would also maybe take off the list, because it's like, because I know this lady has shooters, and this lady also has like a lot of awards, and
that's on the list right now.
No, on the actual Apple 100 list.
You gotta shout. Nah, you gotta name it. Don't be dropping the motherfucking teasers. Who are you talking about?
It's like, because I know folks. She has shooters, man. She has shooters.
Who?
Eilish.
Motherfucker. I was already fucking saying on our stream that she shouldn't be on that list because I don't like that fucking album. Why are you bringing it up specifically?
Yeah, I know, like, okay, but it's like, I get why they put it on, because they feel like they need to, like,
and why'd you bring it up?
In that, like, because it's a one that I would replace Best Coast with. I would replace hers with Best Coast. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there.
I guarantee. I almost bet. Relax, boy. Like, man, it's not like we're like condemning. She's too big to fail. It doesn't matter what two randos from the East Coast have to say about her work. Literally too big to fail. But I'll say this though, like on some real shit, I stopped listening to her work and her brother's music because of their managers and their political affiliations. If you catch my drift, the same reason I don't bang with Gaga. If you catch my drift.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Fuck a stand on this goddamn podcast, my boy.
Yeah. But yeah, and like, look, I mean, it's like, It's like I get why y'all like that album. It's like I'm not even
Stop talking
I'm
about it
not
then if
even
you're
gonna
so
call it
goddamn worried
that.
about it. Trust me, it's okay.
You
We still
know.
got a couple more to
But
go
yeah,
through on your own list.
I would I would replace that album with Best Coast Crazy Crazy on You. And,
Funnily enough, you don't get to do that. If you were
okay.
brave, you could have done it. You could have done it last stream. It's fine. Again, like I said, I almost guarantee a lot more people feel the way we feel in regards to like, like strong singles on the first Eilish record, but I don't believe as a body of work, start to finish, it holds up for me because I'm one of those
As a
people
yeah.
who I never liked Bad Guy. It kind of creeps me out, which I think is kind of the purpose. And congratulations. However, I think that the Ska Tune Network version of the song is an absolute ass kicker, and not that other ska band. Fuck that band.
Yeah.
We still need like, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 more. All right, you're gonna pick the last one, but my last suggestion, as far as I'm concerned, for your 10 piece, I think it should be hymns for disco. How do you feel about that?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Shout out to
I think
Canada,
that, yeah,
the
shout
real
out
Canadian
Canada.
rapper,
Yeah, yeah. Oh boy, yeah. Geez, man. Hey,
real
look,
Canadian rap.
hey, look. Canadian hip hop, Canadian to the Canadian rap scene. Look, I, you got, you guys have so many years of quality to be defined by one,
Aside from
like
that
to be
sweatshop,
one person who like look we
I
already
don't
said
know
a
who
lot
you're
of
talking
slander on
about.
him,
Whatever could you
and
mean?
another person who I will not name, but I have no respect for him. I will look if I saw you, if I saw you on the streets, I would walk the other way. Because I do not, I
Oh,
never
I know who
want to
you're talking about.
acknowledge your existence. You
Scandal
are
acknowledged.
like, I have absolutely no respect for the other big Canadian rap who like absolutely, like seriously, I would curse in that man's face. Like I do
out
not
of
respect that
out
man
of
at all.
respect for all who were like harmed by that specific organization, just Google Rhyme Sayers Entertainment at your own peril. Um, it's a pretty hard read. But like we owe it to our
Yeah.
audience. We owe it to our audience to at least give them like the breadcrumbs that like completely ruining their night with what they're going to learn. So yeah, Scandal acknowledged. Last album, your pick. You said you have some dissertations. What do you got for us?
Okay. All right. So, I mean, there's special shout outs I'm gonna give. Like, okay, like
Give me
frustratingly, I
one.
forgot to actually, shoot. Oh, let's, yeah, I, you know, all right. I know I said we don't talk about Christmas. We don't talk about Christmas stuff. We're not going to talk about Christmas stuff on November, but and you know what? Actually, no, we still won't talk about Christmas stuff. So
Damn.
Vince
Okay.
Guaraldi, I would talk about, like, shout out to Vince Guaraldi.
He's doing that thing. So he was probably reaching for a motherfucking vinyl. That's what you fucking get. You cheeky fucking get. Getting fancy with the goddamn spices. At least he's smiling this time. He was pretty agitated the first 2 times. Yeah, I'm talking that shit because you can't respond. Y'all, it's been a funky 2 and 45-minute stream. And we're very thankful. Yes, reset your monitor. We got grand open and grand closing. Look at here, y'all. This program will be back. Hello.
Yes, I'm back. No, I
Put the
wasn't.
mic down.
I was. I wasn't even gonna grab a vinyl. I was gonna grab a CD, man.
Tomato, you dickhead.
Okay, so yeah, okay, so because I won't mention Vince Guaraldi's Charlie Brown Christmas, I will mention his Academy Award nominated score for A Boy Named Charlie Brown, which I still consider truly one of the great. Like in terms, like there have been five Peanuts films, and this film I truly consider a masterpiece. And yes, the score, alongside collaboration with John Scott Trotter, his musical director who he had worked with on the specials, and the lyrics of wonderful poets, Mr. Rod McCuen, truly coalesced to a wonderful album that would have been, I believe, probably would have won an Academy Award had the Beatles' Let It Be not come out at the same time and was nominated as well. And keep in mind, the Beatles had already broken up when they won an Oscar, but I just feel like I needed to give them a shot because I'm not going to talk about a Charlie Brown Christmas right now.
Blockhead, acknowledge, stop stalling.
But okay, but I guess, but one thing that I feel like we've done a really great job of doing in this stream is like, yes, there's a lot of classic stuff, but we've kept it pretty modern, and I say why not continue with keeping it modern by giving the final flowers to an artist who I'm very open in my appreciation for, and I'm glad to say that this is an artist who I think could be considered a truly generational talent. So shout out to King Cruel with 6 Feet Beneath the Moon.
Great fucking selection. If you let me just say this because I want to get us out of here. If you are a sad man, if you are a sad masculine presenting person, this album is for you. If you are just like downtrodden by heartbreak and depression, this album is for you. In this fucking house, we stand Archie Marshall. Don't know that man from Adam, but like the day that I heard 2 specific songs, and I'm gonna shout them out because Neptune fucking Estate and Easy on that was it on Letterman?
Yeah. He performed
that
on
fucking
Letterman.
performance on Letterman should be available for purchase because I already really loved Easy in like its raw, stripped back form, but with the full band and that motherfucking bassist. Now, just another fucking example of when British rock sounded like motherfucking British rock. Shout out to King Cruel, bruh. Yo, Ed Sheeran, who?
and the King and Mr. Marshall, King Cruel, like once again, I like pretty much all his subsequent releases. I'm likely gonna end up talking about the Ooze when we talk about stuff from 2017. Even though I will admit, and I'm not even gonna slander Fantano like I usually do.
Do it.
Because like, yo, he brought out the red flannel for the Ooze, man, and that was like, okay. Now you're taking the disrespect too far, man. But okay, but I say this and okay, I can't. Unfortunately, I forgot the name of his third album, which I think
it's fine. Keep talking.
Yeah, which I think is his probably. It's like his best since 6 Feet, but 6 Feet is once again another example of like hitting it out of the park already.
Man Alive.
Man Alive. Hitting it out of the park already in terms of ambition, in terms of being able to deliver on that ambition. That's like, and I love Man Alive, and I think Space Heavy, which he dropped last year, is wonderfully solid. But it's like, if I end up seeing 6 Feet Beneath the Moon as like his really true magnum opus, that just says more about how he already hit it out of the park on his first go. So if he never does again, it's cool. It's cool, man. Like how many how many people at 19 that's how old that man was, man. He not at 19 drops an album that is just in obviously, being on the indie rock then, in taking so much from being so open in its love for post-punk, particularly no wave, which is a very underrated subgenre. Like, if you don't know what no wave is, like, basically
Go on, rate
new
your
wave.
music and find out.
Yeah, new wave, but absolutely uninterested in being as mainstream friendly, and a subgenre that I have once described as one of the few genres where you actually had to be very talented to make music that sounded as if you had just learned the concept of a musical instrument 3 minutes ago. And to be able to just hit it out of the park with that, with taking those indie rock influence, no wave, jazz, trip hop, and very much like creating something that is very evocative of those influences, but beautifully and effortlessly speaking to our times. Like, how, like, yeah, it's like, and yeah, hey, yeah, I listen to Neptune Estate in many rough moments in my life, in the 2010s. There and look, there were lots of rough moments in 2010s.
And
Come
then
on,
some.
like, you guys remember you guys remember what was going on in the 2010s. It was not it was look, man, someday we're going to make peace with how much the 2010s like really sucked, to be honest. And and man, and just really kind of being able to really, I'm so lucky I discovered it when I did. I did,
Same.
truly one of the, like, heck, I know I said, I'd replace Billie Eilish with Best Coast. No, scratch that. Let's replace Billie Eilish with King
No,
Fool.
no, you don't get to do that. Straight up, you don't get to do that. You
Like,
know what? You know
because
what?
I'm not.
Yeah, because and here's the reason why you can't do that. I
Okay.
gave you an opportunity to swap out that Block Party record, and you said no. So you
Yeah, because
forfeit.
okay, because I recognize that Silence Alarm is special for a lot of people. I recognize that Silence Alarm is the album for people. Like, I recognize and I accept it, because it's like, though I love Weekend more, like, Silence Alarm really is that album. Like, don't get it twisted. I love Weekend more, but Silent Alarm really is that album.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, fuck that. Listen,
okay.
you're already putting Cruel in anyway. It's already going on the
Okay.
list. So
Yes.
all you can do
And
at this point, because here's the thing, since we're like inviting enough people to remove every album off the board, at some point it's gonna get taken off. The question
okay.
is
Okay.
it because the question is like, is it gonna get taken off because the person who takes it off thinks it's whack? Or because there's no other album to take off but that record? Will be the last album standing is the real question. So
Yeah.
there we have it. We finally have like the top 10 from your 100 greatest albums of all time. They are Dear Science by TV on the Radio, The Sea by Corin Bailey Ray, United by Marvin Gaye, and uh damn, I don't want to mispronounce her name.
Tammy Terrell.
Tammy Terrell.
Yeah, Tammy Terrell.
We also have Game 3 by The Roots, The Cool by Lupe Fiasco, Proof of Youth by the Go Team, Crazy for You by Best Coast, Hymns for Disco by Chaos and Shit, I already forgot what it was. Um,
6 feet,
6 Feet
6 feet
Beneath the Moon by
beneath the
King
moon.
Cruel.
I can cool.
Shout out Rat King for their collab with King Cruel. So Sick Stories, absolute ass kicker. Shout out to Wiki. Um, I'm tired as a fool. It's almost 12:30 in the morning. We are 7 minutes shy of a 3-hour stream. A big shout out to the three folks who remain to this very minute. A big shout out to our friend Bev. Shout out to our boy Eddie. We love you so much. Shout out to Grayson Cook. And shout out to V of Subtle Smile, subtlesmile.com,
Yeah.
best website in the DMV for fashion, fine art, and music. Let's hit
And
these motherfucking
and
who?
also
Oh
the
yeah,
real
Matthew
yeah,
Macaulay for calling us stupid.
Get out. Do you know who that? Do you know who that guy is? I don't
Fuck
know
no.
who.
Oh shit. Big shout out to Bella, one of like, hey, Philly's finest. I'll say that much. One of my
Mhm.
favorite people in West Philly to this goddamn day. We are due to make content of our own. She and I, like, we're just gonna have ourselves a nice chat when the time comes. She's so busy, like, getting to the bag, getting to like the education, raising those kids. A legend, a true friend. Calls to fucking action. Stay hydrated. I've been nursing this aloe vera and like sparkling water for like the last hour or so. You're gonna get up from the stream, have a nice pee, and you look yourself in the mirror while you're washing your hands. You're gonna say, "I love you" to yourself, and if you can't do it, we understand. Please know that me and Aelor love you in the most like platonic, supportive way possible. Like we said at the top of the stream, if you still can, like if you're watching this before November 5th, please make sure you're eligible to vote and
Yeah.
educate yourself to the best of your ability. And no
And
pressure. One thing that I don't like with these fucking political ads is they're saying, "Hey, you know that who you vote for is private, but whether you voted or not is public." It feels like a fucking threat, and I hate it. If you decide you're not
yeah,
going to vote, it is your right to say, "I don't want to," and I will not hold that against you. Like, all bullshit aside, it is literally your choice. We would suggest that you should, but if you do not, it's not like I can do anything to you anyway. You have the
yeah,
right to
and
choose. So by all means, do what you believe to be best. And again, no pressure. That's why we put the motherfucking link in the description. So if you still want to, if you have the opportunity to, do the best you can with what you got.
yeah, and I understand our political system is constantly aggravating.
Let's
And you
destroy
know,
that motherfucker. Personally,
yeah,
like, let's just
no,
start all the way the fuck over. Personally speaking, 5 people should be president. There are 50 fucking states. Let's get 5 people to work together and solve some problems. And like, again, it's clear these assholes do not have our best intentions in mind, and they work for us. So,
yeah,
like, if you finally had enough, because I know that I have, let's start over. We don't have a lot of time left. Like, the planet is dying, and Earth will do what she has to do to protect herself, even if we don't make it. Sorry to be so fucking doomsday. Speaking of
yeah, it's all good.
being so fucking doomsday, now's the time in the show where we acknowledge every nation that's experiencing a humanitarian crisis as we speak. This podcast stands with the peoples of Yemen, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ethiopia, Niger, Somalia, Mali, Myanmar, Burkina Faso, Darfur, South Sudan, Ghana, Hawaii, Bangladesh, Lebanon, Syria, Cuba, and Palestine. From the river to the
Yeah,
sea, if we've somehow missed one of those nations, please charge it to our heads and not to our hearts. If you want to learn more about how to change the fucking world, rescue.org in the description. We're not being paid to like put them on, but I feel like they do the best job of like consistently like summarizing what's happening in each like specific part of the world and what you can do to help, whether it be by money or like your time or just telling others in your communities on how we can all be a better neighbor to each other and the nations around us.
Yeah.
quick side note of that: nations are just lines drawn in the sand with a stick, as famously said by Rue Reynolds. Rao Reynolds, yeah, Rao Reynolds of Enter Shikari. I think that's
Yeah.
everything. I'm happy to say that our dear friend Aelor got his passport renewed, and so hopefully we'll get back to like the tail end of this like apple orchard adventure of ours, so we can like comment together on my list. And shit, whether you go there or not, I'm either coming over there or we're gonna do this like nations apart from one another. I'm rooting for you. I'm a big fan. You are my brother.
Thank you. And seriously, much love, much thanks for inviting me over for us getting to do this thing. And also, like, even like, something I wasn't really intending on myself, but it was great to highlight a lot of particularly black artists in few modern ones. And, and yeah, also admittedly, like something was not intended, but like in kind of showing some love for people, from my who granted immigrate from my region, Nigeria, and I know Nigeria, kind of constantly going through its issues, and to the many people. To the many people there who who are very much trying to fight the good fight of having their voices be heard and having their having being acknowledged by an establishment that so easily can be apathetic towards them. Thank you for continuing to make your voices heard. I know Nigeria still has a lot of way to go, and by all means, and
So do the rest
whatever
of us.
yeah, whatever part I can be in part of that, whether I'm there or not, it will always be love.
Okay, well fucking said. It's 12:30 on a Sunday morning. Get some rest. We'll I briefly made reference to it. I'll be back on next Sunday, and then I'll be back again on that Friday. Best case scenario. If anything changes, like I'm on social media under the same name, KrisKenard, and this has been an absolute blast. I'm gonna let this upload. I'm gonna go get some more to drink. Maybe play some Assassin's Creed before bed. Ilor, say the thing.
And this, it was not only has it been a wonderful night, and though we are now officially saying good night, it is definitely not farewell. And and of course, next time you see Chris, I might not be here, but I'm definitely going to be showing love and promoting the damn thing. Geez, I don't know what I have next, but
I'll make sure
I
I'll
definitely,
reference it. I'm still gonna send I'm still gonna put
yeah.
like that Christmas video you made many moons ago, so people can like keep track of you and follow all your efforts.
And thank you so much for that. And yeah, like, and seriously, like, much like how, Shata V and her own subtle Smalpin, and, and she has been, she's been wonderful in terms of, collaborating with Chris. And I don't know if we'll be seeing her when, getting her own 100 list, but if she has her own, I look forward to hearing about
Oh
it.
shit! I'm definitely gonna
You
text her
know,
tomorrow morning and be like, "Hey,
you
yo,
know.
do you want in on this shit?"
So,
Hell yeah!
but yeah, seriously, thank you for like telling me about this thing that tell me about this initiative about like really kind of like, I guess, kind of like moving away from the stuff that the music gatekeepers and establishments really feel like we should be on. And just understanding that there's a lot more. There's a lot more. There's a lot more to really kind of talk
Look
about
under the
music.
covers,
Yeah,
dig through the
yeah.
crates, discover something new.
Mhm.
All right, we're done. Fuck yeah! 3 hours in, great
Absolutely.
stream. Godspeed, everyone. We'll be back sometime soon.
Mhm. Mhm.
Adios. Don't be gross.
Mhm.